Welcome back, everybody. Welcome back. Welcome back. Welcome back. We are your keys to the MulDiverse. I am Kwaman Star G, and welcome back to another rousing edition of MulDiversity, where things happen in the interim between last week and this week, and we have to discuss it at length. It's going to be a fun episode. We got a multitude of guests popping in, and we look forward to getting into it. So, in any case, I'm going to throw it on to the big homie Aaron, and then we just go ahead and get it in like that.
Oh, of course, you know who it is. It's Aaron Borglife Michael. I am excited for today's episode.
Alrighty, now we're going to throw it to Big A, Avia.
What's up, everybody?
Now, we're going to throw it to Big Money Joe.
Hey, everybody. This is Joe.
And now, Mike, let them know what it's like.
Not Mike might let them know what it's like. What's up, everybody?
Yep. And now for the first of our special guests, she is popping in right now as we speak. She is a writer on the amazing, the awesome, the groundbreaking, the tear-jerking, the highly emotional This Is Us, and she just very recently directed last night's episode that had the whole timeline going up on a Tuesday. Yesterday's Tuesday. Today's Wednesday. Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for Kay. Okay, she's still connecting, but she will be here as soon as her connection is connected with our connection on the connections. But joining us today, as we wait on Miss Kay, he is somebody that Go ahead.
Can I correct you on her name? It's Kay Oyegan.
Yes.
Oyegan. Yeah.
Kay Oyegan. Yes.
Yeah.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. Thank you. Names are awesome, and we need to know who they are, and we always want to make sure names are pronounced correctly. So Kay Oyegan, thank you. And Mike has disappeared into the ether, but he will be back shortly because that's the benefits of being part of the MulDiverse. But the next person who's going to be helping us officiate things, Keith will be on shortly. He is somebody that is very near and dear to my heart. And by near and dear, I mean he stole my place in the sibling line. And so he's the first. But first, let's let Miss Kay in. First things first.
Oh.
Hey.
Hi.
Hello.
How are you doing? How you feeling?
I'm excellent. How are you guys?
Hey.
Hello.
Yeah.
Cover after that episode.
Right.
I just watched it. I'm still torn.
Hey. I warned him. I tried to warn him that the episode will have you just everything, get some tissues. So whatever happened, y'all, it's up to y'all. So yeah. We're gonna throw it to Aaron. Are you gonna?
This part? Yes.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Oh, sure.
Yes.
Hello, Kay. Yeah. Hello. I am Aaron Michael, screenwriter extraordinaire. No. I'm trying. You know how it is. Yeah, you know how it is. You know how it is for us Black writers.
I certainly do.
So first off, I am so impressed with this, just this episode. Like you really did the thing. Like I am just like Joe said, I had to grab the tissues. Me and my mom were watching it and we were just like, wow, you really did an awesome job. But I want to ask you, like, what made you say this is the episode I want to direct?
Oh, I didn't. That wasn't a thing I got to say. It was sort of, I was asked if I wanted to do it. It was sort of, we broke it last year. We broke it in season 4 towards the end of the season. And we just sort of, we were sent, myself and Ebony my co-writer was sent off to outline. So she would write some. So we split the episode in half, and then he sent her half to me. Then I sort of put it all together to sort of put it as an episode, but it was just an outline. And then when we came back for season 5, that one was one that we didn't know what place it was going to be in the season, but we knew that it was going to for sure be in the season. And so then we built out we had to make changes and stuff because of COVID and all that stuff or whatever to adjust. But our plan for the season was always what it was. And then we were sent off the script. And so in the writing process of it, it was just sort of like you were just writing and having a good time. And then when it came time to direct, to pick a director, they asked me if I would be interested in doing it. I was in the NBC Female Forward program, which I got into early in the year. Again, at the behest of the show, just because it was something that they knew I wanted to do. They knew I loved it and all that kind of stuff. So I had done this short film that got into the program. And then I sort of had the mentorship, the panels and the seminars and all that kind of stuff. And then when it came down to picking a director for this episode, I knew I was going to direct an episode this season. I just didn't know which one. And so this one was one where they were like, well, we can't, you wrote it, you see it, you understand it, like, go ahead and sort of, make it a thing. So I was just like, oh, all right, Lord, like it's time. And so I assumed I was going to get one, like episode 15, something sort of in kind of a middle slot. So I didn't know that it was going to be this one.
Yeah.
You did the thing.
Mm-hmm.
Appreciate it. Thank Lord. My goodness.
Yeah. Y'all are speechless. I did wanted to ask that you said that y'all split it in half. Who was responsible for the part where it just got where the story took a turn, like from?
I did the back half. It's a weird thing to say. It's a weird sort of adjustment in that way because whenever you're splitting an episode with someone, you always it's such a hierarchically, I'm a co-EP and my co-writer is a younger writer. And so it's just sort of you always, you're shepherding and you're mentoring and you're, you know what I mean? Like you're in a teaching position. So I've been fortunate enough to do that a couple times with a couple different episodes over the season, whether or not that I was credited as a co-writer on it or whatever it is. So you take a hand in a bunch of different episodes and stuff. But for this one, it was split down acts 1 to 3 and then 4 to 6. And so, but after we combined the episodes together, I sort of went through and made sure that it was all of one breath and, all that stuff. So it's always a combination of love, but as an upper level writer, you take the majority of the lion's share of making sure that what ends up being turned in basically to your bosses is exactly what they are looking to receive.
Yeah, so you got the big guns coming in. It's like, okay, build it up, and then we're going to, we got to really put something in the end. The last part was just really exceptional.
Yeah, no, I appreciate that. I mean, it's one of those things where it's just sort of, you have to, it's with anything. How do I put this? It's like that chunk, I guess, was one that was less formed, if that makes sense. So it's sort of like it requires more of a storytelling hand to sort of do that, and the beginning portion, the beginning portion was sort of laying the bricks and stuff. And so when you go in and you massage those scenes and all that kind of stuff, it's more of massaging and sort of, accentuating certain things. But I think as you're in a room, you either, and the way our show works and structures, it's sort of like we have our bosses who, and with any writer's room, there's some rooms, like for example, Shondaland shows, always, they group write everything. Even though one person's credited with it, everyone takes an act, right? Or a scene. There's some shows that everyone takes a scene in the room. Like let's say it's 6 of us in the room, everyone will take an act of the episode. And then your boss, the EP of the show, the showrunner, will then take that script and then make it one breath. So some scenes will get cut and rewritten, some scenes will get thrown out, all of that stuff. But then they'll say like, okay, this episode is going to be Aaron's. And then like Aaron's name will be credited on the episode, but it's a it's a group effort. So that's what happens a lot of times in shows. Our show on This Is Us a little bit different because every episode has a personality, and the personality a lot of times reflects the writer who wrote it in a lot of ways. And so while we all bring the pitches and all that kind of stuff to the table, that writer then gets to take the outline and go, or gets to take the notes on the board and then go, hold on one second. Hey, Ma, can you close the door? Por favor? Thank you.
Love it. Interviews
Yeah.
during COVID. I had a salesman knock on my door earlier today, like selling basements, something for the basement. Yeah.
It happens like 8 times a day. Bless it. So that's how some writers' rooms work. Ours in particular, we break it all together. So we are all involved in the breaking of the story. We all know what the story is. We all throw pitches there. Then you take that thing, you put them all on note cards. The writer of the episode goes and then strings them together. So it's like their point of view, their jokes, their scene work, all that kind of stuff. They give that to our bosses, and our bosses then sort of give notes on it, do a rewrite of it in some areas that need it, trim it down in some areas that need it, and then that writer goes and does those notes, and then the entire room gets to note the script back. And then we all give notes on the script to be like, oh, I'm not sure about this. We ask questions, we poke holes, we pitch, moments and dialogue and all that kind of stuff. And then so that writer basically has ownership of it. It's just been edited down. But when you are supervising, so we also do this supervising thing where co-EP level writers supervise our younger writers just to help them with that process, because our show, again, has a DNA, has a particular style and all that kind of stuff. And it's not an easy style to get into. A lot of times we're montage heavy, we are monologue heavy, we are moments and details heavy. Our scripts feel like a dance in a lot of ways. And so that takes that's a point of view shift to sort of get into that. So we mentor a lot of younger writers. And so in this particular situation, it was like we call it like big buddy, little buddy kind of thing. So in this situation, it was sort of like, it was, in order to get the work done, it was split in the middle, but then you have to take it and then sort of massage the whole thing to make sure it's of one breath and all that stuff. So yeah.
So
Awesome.
would you say you have more, do you enjoy working in a writer's room more as opposed to, say, doing your own spec script, or, which one do you enjoy more, or are they kind of equal?
They're definitely not equal in a sense. I was actually having this conversation earlier. I love the engagement of a writer's room. I love the camaraderie of a writer's room. I love the structure of it. I love the collaboration of it, because it's like it's like best idea wins kind of situation. And I think that's so dope. And it's one of those things where if you have great leaders like we do, everyone feels a sense of ownership and a sense of the ability to speak and sort of throw out ideas. I think that's great. But it's like at this point, 5 years in, it's like you have such a really good sense of who these characters are and what their voices are and what they're going to do. So a lot of times in my own personal space, I want to like shake the table in the sense I want to do something completely random. I want to write an action movie. I want to write a raunchy comedy. I want to write a horror movie. And it's just sort of like that. Those things don't fit into this show, but I want to get those things out of my head and on paper. So it's like, I'll go do that. And in those situations, there are no rules. You know what I mean? And so you can just do that. So I like them both for different reasons.
And I have a quick question. There are so many great moments in this episode. What was your favorite scene to shoot?
Man, honestly, it's one of those things where it's like, I like that. That's the funny part of going. So after I found out that I was going to be directing, I went back in to the script many times, and I was just sort of like, oh, I'm just going to rewrite this whole thing because I'm directing it now. And it's like wildly selfish. Like, it's like a crazy selfish thing to do, because like you don't always do that when you're handing a script to a director, which now I'm going to say to all the directors that I do episodes for, I'm going to be like, are there scenes that you want in this? And like ask them, like, are there scenes that you, having seen us as a director, like, are there things that you're craving? Because you don't normally think about that as a writer / producer and giving that to a director. It doesn't cross your mind in that way. But because of going into the directing side, I was like, oh, let me rewrite this for moments that I was like, okay, I want this to be more emotional, or I want this to move this needle here, or I really like this particular actor that I just saw in a daily, in a casting video, that I really want to give him this. I was like, there's so much stuff that we cut, but it was just sort of like that Aunt May monologue to Laurel when they were sitting down together. Once we had Lisa Gay, I went back in. I was like, let me go write her backstory in this moment, because I'm like, I just love this actress so much, and I love this maternal moment right here between the two of them, where you're caring for someone in this very intimate way. And I was like, let me go back and sort of like have them have this moment where it's not just like I'm giving you advice, but it's more I'm sharing with you my life now that you're adult enough and have gone through enough for me to be able to say these things to you. So it's like going back in and doing stuff like that. Like it's I think maybe that scene was one of my favorites to do, but I think basically all of that is to say that I went back in and rewrote stuff that I wanted every scene to be my favorite to do. I went back in and just sort of like greedily just sort of reorganized stuff that I was like, I want to shoot this. I can't wait to shoot this. Let me give them this moment so I can shoot this. So every day that I was on set, I was like excited. Every day in pre-production, I was like, okay, and then the hot comb goes here, and then this, And so it's like I was very, high basically on doing all of those things, because I went back in and I was just sort of like, let me just, give myself a bunch of stuff to play with and stuff. So all of them. I think there was supposed to be the scene where Laurel goes out to the water and cries. There was supposed to be an additional thing, but while I was there watching it, I was like, oh, I drew like this terrible, it's like I drew this, hold on, let me see if I have it on hand. I drew this thing that I just sort of like, that while I was there, and I was like, yeah, so it's like, I drew this, can you see this bottom thing?
Mhm.
So it's like,
concept art.
hold on.
Yep.
Let me turn it this way. Yeah, this is better. So it's like I drew this while I was standing there behind the monitor, because I was just sort of like, oh, I don't need any more. Like, this is the tableau that I want. I just want her back in the wad, like in her back, us in a wide, and just sort of seeing the landscape. And then it turned into this, which is what we were shooting. And so it's just sort of like, I was like, oh, okay, this is the shot. You know what I mean? So it's just sort of like, there were different stuff that like on the day could change, and you were going with how you were feeling and how things were moving around you, to be able to make adjustments. And so I greedily, all of the scenes, I enjoyed every single day of this experience.
That's awesome.
Oh, go ahead, Q.
Oh no, I was just gonna simply ask. Everyone always speaks so highly about the emotional beats in This Is Us, and just going off of yesterday's episode and just the general reputation of This Is Us. How do you guys always seem to not only hit the emotional mark that resonates with so many people every single time, but like, how do you guys kind of conceptualize what type of emotional moments you guys think will resonate with the audience the most?
What kind of I don't think we think about that. You know what I mean? I don't think we think about that. Like, I don't think we think about that. I think that, it's like, for example, yeah, we don't go into it. I'm like, we don't go into it with that. Yeah, I don't like.
They just let it flow.
Yeah, it's like Dan, our boss, is just so incredibly thoughtful, and this story is so personal to him, and he's talked about it very openly. After his mom passed away, it took him like 10 years to really begin to process it, and that's where the origin of the story came from. And so it's just sort of, and so in a lot of ways, his spirit is sort of breathing through all of these episodes. And so all of us from day one felt very comfortable to bring all of our stuff into the show. Like my co-writer on this episode, Ebony, like when we did the Beth backstory episode, that was like her experience as a dancer. And so it's just sort of like, it wasn't necessarily for her thinking like, oh, this is going to resonate with other people. She was just telling her story. You know what I mean? And it's just sort of like, and you know, one of our writers, KJ Steinberg, her mother-in-law has Alzheimer's, and so she's watched her sort of become a different person through these last couple of years, and so she brought that into the room, and so that's literally what inspired Rebecca's, you know, experience in a lot of ways. So it's just sort of, we're not really thinking about, oh, this is going to affect the audience in a meaningful way. We're, you know, 13, you know, 14 people saying this affects us in a meaningful way. And so we're essentially writing things that do feel very personal, and we're very grateful when people respond to it. But it's like, you'll literally look on Twitter and you'll like see a hashtag, this is us. One person is, I love everything this person just did. The next person is, I hate everything that person just did. The next person is, oh, we didn't need this episode. The next person is, this is the best thing I've ever seen. So imagine basing your writing decision on that. You know what I mean? You'll, you know, you'll never get out of bed.
Yeah.
Oh man.
I love hearing that you're in a space where you're comfortable enough to be like, I had this experience. Can I put this in the show next? I mean, that has to feel amazing.
It's a combination. It's that, and it's sort of like, it's not necessarily like, you know, like it's not necessarily kind of like I had this experience. It's more like, okay, you know, this was like season 2, and we were talking about Rebecca as an older woman, and we were talking about experiences, and then KJ was just sort of like, we knew what she had been going through, and she was just sort of like, you know, there are moments when da da da, and so it's like, as you're speaking, it's like all of a sudden it goes from you to the character, and then it's like it melds like that. So it's not necessarily that, you know, everyone brings their baggage into the space and they sort of like, you know, find ways to put it in. It's sort of what the character is going through, and then if it reflects in some way. Like I remember, like at the end of season 1, I remember we all had to write pitches out and turn it into to our bosses. And I remember like typing up, like, you know, like, what if Kevin had a addiction to painkillers, like just sort of like a thing, as like a notion. And it was still early days in our configuration of the story, and it not realizing what that would be, but it was just sort of like a thought. But it ended up speaking to, you know, the beer cart in his closet from season 1. It ended up speaking to a football career that he had when he was younger and then lost. Now all of a sudden the trauma of that now speaks to why going from football to acting made sense for someone like him. And now for him to have addiction where his father was an alcoholic, and we already knew that from before. So it's like all of a sudden all of these ideas kind of weave in together into a tapestry that sort of extends your story forward. Oh, you're muted.
No, I didn't want to talk over anybody else. My question is about some news I read about the ending, about how 6 is going to be the end. Do you guys know?
Yeah, 100% at this point. Absolutely. We've already mapped it out. We've shot some of it, and it's just sort of, it's kind of one of those things where it's like you want to go. I mean, today they announced that Insecure was ending after season 5. It's just sort of, you want to know when to leave. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. You want to know when to sort of bow out gracefully, because it's like you never want to overstay your welcome, and we're not, you know, I'm always in awe of shows like Grey's Anatomy that can be around for as long as they need to. Part of it is because, you know, you have a killer team, and, you know, Meredith Grey is your anchor, and she's, you know, committed to the show through and through, but it's also a hospital. So it's like there's a bit of a workplace vibe, but this is a show about a family that has a history. So at a certain point, their childhood is mine. At a certain point, their, you know, middle ages are mine. At a certain point, their adulthood are sort of discovered. And so it's just sort of like, as much as you can feel like you're regurgitating or pulling out stuff, it's just sort of the tapestry of it. There are questions. I mean, I feel like everyone was so surprised by Laurel and this episode, but I was just sort of like, but you knew his dad. He had to have a mom. You know what I mean? So it's just sort of like, the logic of it is all there. But I think it's just sort of wherever people are looking is where, you know, where the story's going to go, or not looking is where the story's going to go. But season 6 is currently the definite, like, you know, end game. And I'm like, whatever anybody does after that, that's all on them. But that's where this current crew is sort of looking. So if you hear in a couple of months that like, This Is Us is on for another 18 seasons, just know I had no idea. That's way above my pay grade. I don't know nothing about that. What I know, what they told me is that we're all after this. So yeah.
Ooh, and since you mentioned insecure ending, can I go ahead and ask the $1 billion question? What do you think could be and should be done to get more of us in the writers' rooms?
What do I think could be and should be done? That currently isn't happening. I think that the people who hire are showrunners. Showrunners hire. As much as, studios and all that kind of stuff, say thumbs up or thumbs down, showrunners hire, writers hire other writers. And that's part of the reason why the whole like agency stuff was like really, really bizarre and also kind of like failed for the agencies, just because I think they didn't realize that writers hire other writers. Go figure. And so I think that what could be done is access points to showrunners. And what should be done is writers of like Black writers, writers of color, getting more shows on the air, because the truth of the matter is, for better or worse, a lot of times your story is a reflection of yourself, and you are likely going to populate your space with reflections of of what you feel your story needs. So I think and so I've been a big fan of seeing social media as an avenue for a lot of people to not only create personalities, not create personalities, but showcase their personalities, showcase their work. I've met a ton of people off of Twitter, and all of these different initiatives have been fantastic, because it's like you're encouraged to read, and you're encouraged to watch content that people are creating. Oh, hi. How does this work?
Oh, she's just watching and just said hi. This is from the comments.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, he just put a comment up, and I think
I
think we've got some of the This Is Us fans coming and watching for the first time. Because you're on. So
that's awesome.
But yeah, that's I love that you say that about writers hiring writers and about social media and having access there. Because I think that there's a lot of people nowadays that kind of put social media kind of down. Still, like some of the older old school people, and it's like we gotta open kind of open ourselves up and kind of get outside of the community and get outside of the people and I think you'll find more.
Yeah, I mean it's a long game kind of thing, and a lot of times in the process of it, it feels very frustrating. And understandably so, but it's just sort of it's a sticking it out, because we're not curing cancer, we're not doing any of those things. So it's just one of those. It's a passion and love driven industry, So it's just like, because we're not curing cancer, because it's like if you went to medical school and you were curing cancer, you know exactly where to go. They will give you an opportunity to cure cancer. But this is such a financially driven business. It's such a passion driven business. It's such a subjective business that it really just sort of like your tastes have to align with someone else's, because all of these things are going to be put together to make a show that will eventually make money for someone else. And then, all of those things have to kind of be, considered. So I think it's a timing thing also, but I think that more Black writers and writers of color need to get jobs at a showrunner level, and it opens up the palette, because then not only the writers' room is reflected in that, but also the producing team, the crew, the production all around is just sort of like is popping in that way, because as much as you can sort of belly ache about white showrunners not giving people a pass or an opportunity. This is not even an excuse, but it's like you get these lists, right? You get these lists of people, and these are lists of writers, these are lists of scripts and all that kind of stuff. And if you imagine, everybody here turns in, everybody in this panel writes an hour-long drama, and then you're a showrunner who has to do XYZ thing. If you don't want to read 5 separate scripts, you're probably going to ask someone, do you know XYZ person or anything like that? And they're like, well, I know, I know Avia really well and she's awesome. Okay, I'm going to read Avia's script. And then it's like, then I read Avia's script and probably Q's script is amazing, Aaron's script is amazing, but it's just sort of like, I just only have time to read the one. And it's just sort of like, now Avia, if I love that script, you're hired. If I didn't really click with it, then it's like, I probably am not going to read any of the others. I'm probably going to ask for a different list or something. And so it's like, all of a sudden, all of these very talented people are now, not even on the radar just because that person is just trying to get the ball rolling. And so that's the reason why you see a lot of rooms, kind of lazily just hire the people they know, because they don't have to go through that process. You're always looking for a reason to take someone off a list. That's why recently what happened to Janet Hubert is something that was so painful for many reasons, just because what those lists look like. And so if someone says, oh, this person is difficult, you don't even care what the context is. You just need a reason to take them off the list so you can make your job easier, so you can will down, who you need. It's a painful truth, but it's one that not a lot of people talk about. There's a lot of, it takes work for people who are not used to doing that work to change their environment. And it's not an easy proposition to ask for people, because that requires them to do something outside of what they normally would want to do.
Yeah. So what advice do you give writers who are wanting to get in there and are wanting to break through? I mean, is there anything they can do to kind of help them, their chances? Absolutely.
I think it's such a, and I don't want to even give like a cliche, like just keep writing. Because I mean, that's what you're doing, right? It's less of that. And it's not even necessarily get a manager, get an agent, because we're not really in that space necessarily as much anymore. It's still helpful, but I don't really know. So I'll use a case study, right? I'll use a case study. I have a project right now that I'm setting up. And so I know for myself, I would want to open up the landscape of the room. I have a dope assistant who I absolutely love. And I'm just sort of like, okay, this project has historical elements. This project has deep character work. This project can be poetic. This project is also something that has action in it. This project is also, an hour-long drama. So it's like, I'll put those 5 things, I'll be like, okay, those are the 5 things that I need. And I'm a Black lady. Those are the 5 things that I need. So now I have this assistant and I'm going to put out fillers now. I'm going to ask people that I know first. I'm like, these are the things I'm looking for. Who's good? Who do you know that's good in these spaces? Who do you know is dope in these spaces? Right. And so it's just sort of like, because I don't need, if I'm looking for these things, if you have a hilarious comedy spec script or whatever it is, I don't care. Right. Like, that's not helpful for any of those things that I need for the show that I'm setting up. So it's like that those are the things that I'm looking for specifically. Someone who can do action, who can do character work, who can do period piece, who can do hour dramas that are compelling, and who's a little bit on the poetic side. So those are the things that I'm looking for. Now, while I'm putting out fillers, I'm also going to be looking at shows that I love, right? So I'm going to be looking at shows that I love that did that really, really well. I'm going to be looking at the people who are on those shows. I know that for my show, I'm going to need a bunch of upper level people. Then I'm probably going to have enough for like maybe 3 or 4 slots for like a newer writers, right? So then I'm going to look for my upper level people first, because I'm like, I know I'm going to need as much upper level experience help as possible. So it's like, those are the people who like, they are dope, fast draft writers. They can write a draft fast as heck. You know what I mean? And that draft is going to be nice. You could just turn the camera on and you're ready to go. So it's like, those are people that I'm looking for. People who have probably even like Kobe P'd in a room before. So if I'm out doing XYZ, they can lead that room. So those are the people I'm looking for first. So I'm going to like look through shows and see who's available, right? Start putting out fillers, see who's available. So I'm going to cherry pick folks first, right? That's where my head is at. Because you imagine yourself building a basketball team. It's like, you now want to be like, who are the best point guards, who are the best forwards, who are the best, and these kind of things. And then you go through and you do that. Then you're like, okay, now these are my 4 slots that I have. Once I pick those heavy hitters, and those people probably have an acumen for all those 5 things that I want, because I need to make sure that's there. Now I'm like, okay, now I have these 4 slots or whatever, and this is an opportunity now to open up the space and just be like, who's awesome, who's dope. And so now these are people who I already have in the back of my mind. Likely, I did a like there were a couple of programs that I did, which was like a Hollywood coffee thing that I did or whatever, that was off of Twitter. There was another sort of like startup thing or whatever. So there are people that I've already met and had like one-on-ones with and generals with that I already sort of like keep in the back of my mind, and I have them in like a Rolodex. So now I'm going to go to them. I'm going to be like, hey, you know, and the ones I really, really sort of like vibed with, and I really thought they were like hungry and blah, blah, blah. So I was just sort of like, they put themselves out there. So it's like, they're like, oh, hey, like they saw what was going on Twitter, they joined in or whatever, and then we got paired up. So now this is somebody who I had a 20-minute, you know, coffee with, you know, virtually, right? But it's somebody who I knew was, you know, a Black man, Black woman, and somebody who I vibed with. And so they're in my Rolodex. So I'm like, let me hit them up and just see where they're at. And so I'm gonna ask like, yo, can I read something? And if they don't have material that sort of like fits in with the world, or if the material they do have, you know, is something that I'm like, you know what, it's not quite what I'm looking for, but I like the voice, then I'm like, okay, let me go have a deeper conversation with them. If I don't find who I'm looking for out of that pool, now I'm going to friends of mine who are assistant level or whatever the case is, and I'm asking them questions, because I want to see who this person knows that is sort of like looking for an opportunity or looking to start or whatever the case is. So it's like, for example, this kind of thing, right? So what I would do is, Janita, like now you and I have spoken, you're now in that Rolodex, right? This is somebody who like putting that together. It's like, okay, let me ask her what her situation is, who she like, let me read her. Let me see if anybody else on this particular panel has a script or whatever that's in that space. Then, you know, so it's like, that's work that someone in my position would want to do. That's not work that someone in other people's positions would want to do. So it's all about who wants what at the end of the day. So my biggest thing that my takeaway from all of the stuff I just described is getting a better sense of why certain people aren't in the room at a certain time, or certain people aren't at certain places at a certain time, knowing the amount of slots that certain people have available for certain things. And then also realizing like, oh, this forum that we're on right now is actually a way to get into a room. So it's like, all of that is to say everything that you're already doing is that, don't stop doing that. You know what I mean? It's sort of like, it's like continue to engage in this way, continue to engage with other writers that you admire or you enjoy or whatever the case is, like continue to sort of like push the needle in that sense. If you see somebody who you like and they did a project or they did an episode or they did anything like that, because we're all watching TV all the time, tweet them, you know what I mean? Like, let them know, shout that, you know, shout, like get into that space, because it's like, this conversation didn't start because y'all needed something from me, but I'm like, oh, look at these smart, dope people. I would love to read them when I'm setting something up, because it's like, this is a way to now, all of a sudden, we're not just people who are doing interviews, we're like, you know, peers, and like we're engaging in this space. So it's one of those things where it's like, you keep your scripts on point, you're working on those, but you're also finding ancillary ways to sort of get FaceTime with folks that you want FaceTime with, frankly.
Awesome. Well, we got people, you know, on here in, no, the other way, Avia. Yeah, there's a lot of writers on this panel, so,
This is very helpful, because I'm at that place right now to where, like, you know, it seems like, you know, not necessarily a dead end, but it seems like, you know, I'm stuck, but that advice was definitely helpful. Keep writing, just don't stop. So thank you for that. Thank you.
Yeah, and not even just keep writing, don't stop, but it's just sort of like, if you keep your eyes and your ears out on any kind of like social media, like meet and greet, any kind of like opportunity that's happening in that way, because like, I know I look at those things and I know I want to get involved, you know what I mean? Want to get involved in those things. And I know all of my like friends and stuff like that who either have shows or are upper level on shows, they want to be involved in those things. But it's just sort of like, now it's even worse than ever, because it's like, we don't even get to go to like meet and greets. We're all on our computers, right? So it's just sort of like, if I don't know you, I can't hire you. You know what I mean? So it's just sort of like, but now because, somebody reached out because of an episode that they saw, and I was like, absolutely, now I know you, right? So it's just sort of like, now I can say like, hey, Avia, like, what kind of stuff do you write? What kind of stuff are you into? No, I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Avia,
come on.
I'm into every genre. Like right now I at least have 7 scripts in 7 different genres because I like genre bending a lot. I like playing in different time periods. Like I'm working on horror. I have action adventure. I have sci-fi. I have an hour-long a supernatural noir based in North Louisiana. So I'm trying to make sure that I'm good in all of them, so I can be really hone my skills. So if someone asks, hey, can you write a Western? Yeah, I can write one. Like, can you do this? Yeah, I can do that. So I'm trying to.
I'll help. So I'll help you sort of a little bit with that question and that answer a little bit. And this is anybody who wants to hear this part of it. So now, for you to tell me that you can do everything and you have 7 scripts in 7 different spaces, all of a sudden my mind goes to, oh, that's a lot. I don't know what to do with that, right? Oh. And so sort of like that's where my mind automatically goes to, just because it's just sort of like, I know that for me, I have that one show that I set up, right? And so it's just sort of like, and so I'm only thinking about that. And so when somebody tells me that they can do all kinds of stuff, it's a little bit just sort of like, okay, I don't like, it's like, not that you're writing anybody off, because that's not what I would do or what anybody would do, but it's just sort of like, it becomes a little bit, it's like, it becomes a little bit scattershot for me to process that. But now, if for example, I said like, oh, like, what are you into? What are you writing? And then you said to me this, I love genres. I have a dope horror script that's fire. It's about ... Now that locks in with me. I know that I don't have a horror project, but I know my homegirl runs a CW show that is specifically horror. So now I can make the mental connection and say, oh, Avia would be dope for her to meet so-and-so, because those two can connect because she has a dope horror project that I heard about and that sounds amazing. So when I text them, I can say, yo, I met this girl. She's amazing. She's got this kind of project or whatever. Does your assistant have time to read this, right? And so it's just sort of like all of a sudden now it's clearer for me to be able to not only, because it's like, does what I said, does that make sense?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's like, so that, right. So it's like, I'm actually going to do that for everybody, because it's sort of like, it's like that kind of thing. It creates an instant connection because it's like on a daily basis, we're taking in so much information. And so it's like, if I get off of this interview and I have something I got to write and turn in, and then I have to do a room later this evening, and I got notes on something else, I'm half here already, right? I'm already like a little bit splintered. But if you say something that locks in, I'm like, okay, I remember Avia, horror, this person. So I keep that in my mind. I'm just sort of like, oh, I can make that connection. That's easy for me. But when it's like, I do everything and all this stuff, I'm just sort of like, mama, I automatically glaze over. And it's like, you're, you know what I mean? So it's like, so to help answer that question, out of all the stuff that you do, whatever you're most proud of, whatever you're most excited about, that's the thing that it's like, you can't, like, of course people can have 18 jobs at a time, but the likelihood is you want to kill that one thing. So it's like that one thing, like go for that as best as you can, or at least the thing that you're most passionate about, right? Because even all 7 of them, you love them all, but there's at least one that you're like, this is it. You know what I mean? This is the one where I can't stop thinking about. If I could make this a show right now, this is what I would do. Because you can't make all 7 of them, but you can at least make one. You could make all 7 of them, but it's like you can at least make one. So, Q, same question. What are you into? What do you do? What do you write?
Oh man, I'm less of a writer and more of a, I guess you would say, like a conceptualist. I haven't really I'm good at articulating. I guess the nomenclature would be pitching it, but when it comes to just writing down the thoughts, I'm more of a traditional superhero / general sci-fi type person, so a lot of my interest lies in that. You know, the groundwork that either is laid in anime or comic books. I kind of lean towards that with a little bit of sci-fi. So, you know, if it's anything like that, you know, Lovecraft, whether it's Lovecraft Country or whether it's any of the general superhero stuff or any of the, you know, anime or mangas, that's where my interest really lies.
So if I wanted to, so that answer right there, you got to the information at the end of it, right? And so it's just sort of like, and so you know what I mean? Like this is like I didn't mean for this to turn into like a workshopy thing.
No,
but
it's
I
good.
hope it's helpful.
Well, look.
The reason why I'm saying that is just because it's just sort of like if there are already shows that you love, and this is another version of that, if there are already shows that you love, and let's say because when you said that, you said you're not a writer but a conceptual person, so I'm like, so I can't hire him, right? That's the first thing that went into my mind, and I was just sort of like, because it's like there's nothing to read because he's not a writer. So it's just sort of like, so then my question was, it would have been sort of like, okay, so if somebody was hiring you, what would they be hiring you for, and based on what? I'm legit asking. Yeah.
I guess that would be the parts where I actually start writing it down to make sure it's all there.
Bet. No, and if that's the case, no, seriously, the thing that I would say is sort of like, I'll turn the heat up. Just go back here.
We were told to wrap like, I don't know, 15, 20 minutes ago. So No, you're fine though. Go ahead. That was Asia, you know, so.
Okay. Because I like this, basically what I was saying to with that is just sort of like the best thing to do in a situation like that is fully be like, I'm not writing, but these are the kind of stories I love. If you have a writer's assistant position, if you have an entry-level position where I could learn in spaces that look like this, that will be amazing. Because then that gives me a solid, concrete thing to be like, oh, okay, cool. So he could be a writer's PA, right? I don't need a script for that necessarily. You know what I mean? Necessarily. He could be, you know, all of those things. Cause it's like, when you say Lovecraft Country, like I've known Misha Green for years now. And so I know how she operates. I know everybody who she hired and I know how. And so it's just sort of like that. So it's like, so I know that what you just said won't click with her. But if you said, oh, I'm looking to learn, then all of a sudden I could be like, Misha, on your next project, somebody would be great as like a writer's PA, or somebody would be great as a set PA who actually wants to learn about how you do stuff because they love Lovecraft so much. So it's like so it's like until you're wherever it is that you want to be, it's sort of like let whomever it is know exactly what it is that you want and then what they can actually do for you. So it's like being able to weed that out of what you said is a little bit of mental gymnastics to do. But because I'm here in this forum, I'm happy to do it. Also, I would be happy to do it anyway. But it's like if somebody didn't have the bandwidth for any of that, they wouldn't know what to do with, you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
Oh no, it does. I'm just glad you didn't cuss me out. Like, what is that?
Oh my God! No, honestly, it's one of those things where it's just sort of like it's that serious. It's like we're all learning, and if nobody's gonna tell you, then how are you supposed to know? Like that don't make no sense. And we're such in a stratified space that it's like so many people who look like us just don't know. Mm-hmm. And it's just sort of like, you know what I mean? So it's very frustrating that, so I would never, again, look, I'm a child of God. I'm not cussing anybody out. So it's just sort of like, I'm not cussing you out. And it's just sort of like, you didn't do anything wrong, but it's like, if there's anything to sort of give back to you in that way, that to me is the thing to do. So, so it's Odd Geek, but I know that's not your name.
No, ma'am. My name is Michael.
No, man. No, I'm 43. We the same. No, I'm back. I'm like,
it's the Southern boy in me. I'm sorry.
Oh, okay. Then get back in. Then go ahead.
Yeah, he's in North Carolina.
I do write and I do a little photography. My favorite genre is supernatural and horror. I love witches, and I'm a gay Black man, so I like writing about my people and being able to inspire them. So, yes.
Dope. So I'm like, there are like 3 people right there that I'm just sort of like, oh, he would be great to meet such and such and such. But it's just sort of like, is there anything that would you want to, are you in a position to be hired right now?
I would really love to do like learn from somebody that does director of photography.
Okay. So you want to learn from a DP. Cool.
Yes, ma'am.
So that's more your vibe and your space.
At the moment, because I've had my camera for about 4 months now, and I'm really loving it, and I've been looking into that as a career for like learning about it. So that would be something that I would like to like go into
and learn more about.
Yes, ma'am.
That's fantastic. That's dope. That's
Thank you. Oh, and I just want to say, if you do make a horror movie, please do it, because the emotion that you did with this last episode, I feel like you will give me an emotional horror movie.
I have a horror. I sold a horror movie called The Ancestor with Tika Sumpter and Michael B. Jordan to HBO Max, and so that we're getting ready to sort of like be in the process of that. So that is, you are fully going to get a K horror movie. It scared me, so I'm like, that's what I know.
And you wrote it. That's great.
I can't go off for nothing else, so it scared me, and I'm nervous for the rest of everybody because I was very upset when I wrote it.
Thank you for telling us that, because I'm
out of anger. Bless everybody in that project. Aaron, what's the situation?
My main thing is sci-fi and action. At the moment, I do have a spec script. I do have a spec script. I'm currently I am interested in directing, but at the moment, I'm more interested kind of in the combo of writing and directing, but I really want to learn the process of what is necessary of a good script.
Okay.
Especially from the Black experience.
That's loaded, because I even after hearing what you just said, I don't know. What do you want?
Oof. For me personally, I want to write. I just want to write really great TV shows and films, episodes, pilots, and anything. I think directing is kind of down the road, but I'm mostly interested in writing action and sci-fi.
Okay.
He's really good at the sci-fi, really good at the sci-fi. Just from some of the stuff he's showing us, he's really good at the sci-fi.
Yeah, what was that last thing we read from you? It was really, really good.
Oh, it was so good. It's like a space opera. Like, woo! Like,
so why did you? So what? Okay, so tell me about the space opera and what do you want?
Yeah, so you gotta think.
Oh my gosh! Okay, I would like to see this space opera made into a big budget film. All-star cast, all that great stuff, but really I want to see this space opera come to life. It's very Shakespearean. It's heavily inspired by the Old Testament of the Bible. It's got just a lot of biblical elements, sci-fi elements, a lot of things to do with what is the concept of good versus evil, what is human nature, what is the concept of nature versus nurture, but it's it's a lot of big, high concepts in, this very intricate, simple story. It's intricate yet simple story just about good versus evil.
Okay. So
what the streets need.
I'll pitch into that. So have y'all ever heard of an elevator pitch?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Because are you guys all friends, or you guys do this? Are you guys in a writers group together because you guys have read each other?
Oh, we're friends. Yeah, friends work together. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay. I would say one of the things to do with each other is practice your elevator pitches. As far as how succinctly, because Aaron, what is most terrifying about our engagement just now is I would walk away not knowing anything. And like, I would know that there was a space opera that's intricate, the end. You know what I mean? And it's just sort of like, and I wouldn't know who to introduce you to. I wouldn't know if you're hireable. I wouldn't know any of those things. And so it's just sort of like, it's one of those things where it's so important to, especially because when we first started this conversation, everybody wants to be hired, everybody wants to break in, but it's just sort of like when you begin to engage with someone about breaking in, you all of a sudden realize just sort of like, I wouldn't even know how to break you in. You know what I mean? It's just sort of like, it's just, you know, does that make sense? Like the talent might be there, but it's like, it's under so much stuff. And in order for me to get through it, I got to read 300 pages of material. And I just sort of like, I don't have time for that. So it's just sort of like, so it's one of those things where it's just sort of like finding the most succinct way, because it's like, first you told me, you know, I know that everybody, like you have to put it out there. Everybody wants to create dope stuff. So you never even have to say it. Never, like no one is like, I want to create garbage. Like everyone wants to create dope stuff. So it's like, you never even have to put that out there. I just assume that that's the case. But it's just sort of like you went into, you know, wanted to direct and and it's just like all of these different things that I'm like, all of a sudden it's like our conversation is wide open, but then each door keeps sort of like shrinking because I'm like, well, I don't have anything for him to direct right now. I also don't know if he's directed before. So how do I, you know, how do I mitigate that? So if it was just sort of like, I love sci-fi horror. I mean, I love sci-fi action adventure projects. I have this spec project that I wrote that's a sci-fi adventure feature. I'd love to get that made, but it's about ... And I think that the kind of shows that I could be hired for with that script are this, and this. So it's like all of a sudden it's synthesized in a way that you've given me something to sort of like process. You've given anybody something to process. It's Aaron, the sci-fi action writer, who just pitched me an amazing project that now I want to read. And so it's just sort of like, because it's like when you get someone who wants to read it, they will actually read it. And so it's like everyone, like you can't be, so the one thing is you cannot be hired in Hollywood without someone reading something. That's just point blank period. And so if no one wants to read it, then you can't. So it's like all of those hoops are like pointless because it's like we can't even get out the gate, right? So all of that is to say that like just that what is that elevator pitch is going to be really good to synthesize as you know as things move forward and careers move forward. But that sounds dope. That sounds amazing. Congratulations. That sounds amazing. Janita, what's up with you?
I'm actually, I don't have a finished script, but I'm working on one that's a drama. It's based on Black women who come together to solve a problem, and it's kind of inspired by the Lemonade album. So it's it's like almost like a braided narrative. So, and by the end, you know, there's a decision to be made. There's bonds that are made. There are revelations. And so it's about all that happens when these women come together.
Nice.
You know, to solve this problem.
Nice. Sounds good.
Yeah.
Really?
Well, I mean,
I was trying to, I was in my head thinking elevator pitch, shorten this stuff down.
It's like the elevator pitch doesn't have to be short because we're having this conversation. But here's the highlight. Here's I'll tell you, this is what my ear heard. It was like, oh, she's cool and I like her, but she's not ready. Mm-hmm. So that's what I heard. So it's like whatever the project is about, good luck. Congratulations. I'm sure it's going to be awesome. But all I heard was just sort of like, oh, she's not, you know what I mean? Because it's like, does that make sense? So
yeah,
it's like,
because I said it wasn't finished. Yeah.
Yeah. Because it's like, it wasn't finished. So I'm just sort of like, oh, even if, no matter what the situation is, it's just sort of like, there's nothing I can do with her right this second, but I like her. So it's like, that's in the back of my mind where I'm sort of like, okay, if I'm going to check in, or if she wants to check in with me to be like, that thing I told you about is finished and this is what I like, all that kind of stuff, that we could do that. But it's just sort of, that's the headline that I heard, but it's helpful because that clearly came forward. So there's no even real question after that. It's like, my goodness, right when you finish it, share it with all your friends. You rewrite it, you do it, you get it to the place that you're comfortable with, and then, you know, all the conversations begin after that.
Okay.
Yes.
Ooh.
And we got Key in here.
Hi. I was the one they were trying to keep from singing company.
Oh my god.
So So I'm sorry I'm late. I was held backstage in the cold, but I have a quick question. So I'm not exactly a writer, but I have been trying to, like, I guess pre-write different ideas in my head, and it's kind of comic based. But the thing of it is, I can't keep it focused, if that makes sense. Like I'm trying to keep, I try to keep writing my ideas, but then it's like I get to stalled, and then it's like I never go back to it. So I'm trying to figure out how do I just maintain my focus so that way I can have at least something done.
I have a question for you. Are you currently seeing anyone?
I'm single.
Okay. No. Here's why I asked that.
I'm old.
Here's the reason, and I'll use that as an example. Then I'll use another one as an example. It's just sort of when you are in the process when you're about to start dating somebody. Do you date 3 people at one time, or do you like one person and then you go for that person?
Right.
No, I'm like that's genuine.
Oh no, I stay focused on one person because in fact I can just get one person, I'll take that.
So see, that right there is the essence of your question to me, right? Mm-hmm. It's like when you focus your energy on that one thing, there's a higher percentage of you actually attaining it.
Right.
Or I would say, like, how many meals would you eat at one time? You're just like, no, it's just lunch. I'm just eating the sandwich for lunch. It's like not that you're eating a sandwich, you're probably just eating so it's like all the ideas will come aplenty. You're a human being who's creative, who's smart, who's alive. You're going to have all kinds of ideas, but you got to make a decision for yourself. And it's about the discipline of it all that says like, oh, all of these are great, but this one person that I really, really like, I'm going to focus my energy here because something might happen as a result.
Gotcha.
So that's like, think of it that way, because there's no other like formula to it. You know what I mean? It's just the boo that you like the most.
Right. I got you.
I like that.
Thank you.
I like that. I like that.
Right. Dope advice. Like, oh my God, I'm so inspired right now. Like,
yeah.
You're dope. This plot done now.
So thank you for turning this into a workshop for us. That we really appreciate it.
You're amazing. You're literally amazing, and you gave us unsolicited advice for free. Like,
no, I'm honestly, I'm glad that y'all didn't say, lady, we brought you here for a reason. But it's just I personally, it's one of the things on my heart always, not even just mentoring, but it's just sort of like finding spaces like this to be able to communicate with folks about like this stuff. Because it's like if you didn't ask me to do this and we didn't go through this, my day just looks the same. It's the same people I work with all day, and that's it. And so then it's just sort of like, and we're even more siloed than ever before. So it's like, there's no opportunity to even say anything, to meet somebody who's new, who's sort of like looking to break in and all that kind of stuff. So it's just like, we just have to keep putting ourselves and our material and what we want and what we're looking for out there and keep learning and honing what that is. Because the truth of the matter is each and every single one of y'all are wildly hireable, wildly, creative, are going to make it in this business, are going to thrive and kill it. And it's just sort of all of these nuggets along the way kind of help feed, who you will become.
Thank you for believing in us, Kay.
Thank you. That felt good.
No, thank you. Like, you did not have to say or do anything that you did today. I mean, like, you really have just blessed us with your words of encouragement, and then how you just did what you did for each one of us, and just, gave us tips on how to, harness what we're trying to do. So we appreciate that.
No, absolutely. And again, it's like I'll talk to Janita. I think you have my email, and I'm going to sort of I want to touch base with Aaron and Avia. Mm-hmm. And the only reason is because they have material currently, and so for that reason, because they have material currently, it's like, okay, that's a step where it's like, all right, what's the next stage for those materials that you have?
Awesome.
That's awesome. So, what other projects down the pipeline do you have for the good folks out there in the MulDiverse that they can lay their eyes on, their ears?
That's it's everything is bizarrely in production. So I write features on the side and on the side. I write features also in addition to my work on This Is Us. So I have projects at Paramount, at HBO Max, at Disney, and that are all in different stages. Directors are attached, casts are attached, and we're hopefully, COVID notwithstanding, going to be shooting all of those this year. So I just, appreciate it, but just sort of keeping it moving there. But you can, so yeah, looking forward to all of those.
Yes.
Where can we find you? Where can we find you? Where can people get a hold of you?
Oh,
see you out?
I'm on the Twitters. I'm on the Twitters. So come find me at the Twitters. I'll be there.
All righty.
You heard it. You heard it.
Yeah.
So thank you, Kay, for simply giving us the time today to sit back and just give us the advice, talk about your amazing episodes you did last night on This Is Us on NBC. If you haven't seen the show, come on now.
You can stream it on the Peacock.
It's on Peacock, Hulu.
Okay.
It's literally one of the most emotional and talked about shows. If you haven't seen it by now, you slacking. Come on now. You're slacking. But in any case, thank you, Kay, so much. I really hope we can have you on in the future.
Thank you. Because we definitely ask you what you're like. Do you like Marvel or DC? Can you hold that question for next time for us, please?
I can, and I'll say I would. They're both great. I'm so diplomatic about that because I love both of them. So yeah, for different reasons. But bye, y'all.
Yeah,
thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right.
Y'all try to keep me from the company, but okay.
Listen, they wouldn't let me go to the door. I didn't have the keys to the door. Okay, I'm sorry. I would let you
Mike
in the public. Lord.
Mike is the doorman.
I didn't have the keys. Mike was riveted, like all of us. I'm taking notes.
I'm over here, Nicole, and I'm like, wow.
That was amazing. I did not expect that. And then at 7, it was 7:20. I got a thing from. I'm sorry, so sorry, Asia. If you still watching, I know I got you. Your tweet, your message to rap, but it was just really going really good.
And now from going from
she's not gonna send it to nobody else.
Right.
You're not getting any more clients.
Nope. So now we've gone from a good time, and now we're going to a time of things because we have another guest.
Why do you say it like that?
Cut the feed and just start over.
This next person on here is somebody I've known my entire life. We go back to Applejack. Some would say we're brothers, and those people would be correct because he is my brother.
Yeah, this is the reason for the introduction, people.
Yes, you'll
see it in a minute.
He is somebody that I do stuff with every Sunday, as well as share a home and existence with. And he paid me upwards of $200 to be featured on the YouTube channel, but I told him he only has 30 seconds before we cut the feed. So if I can't find my stopwatch, y'all might have to deal with more than 30 seconds of them. Ladies and gentlemen,
I'll leave after I'm done with them.
Ladies and gentlemen, I give you a person Key has never met before, but have so many words for.
Yeah, there are some old beefs, right?
Very much so. Very, very much.
Yeah, we get to settle the beefs.
Man, let this man in the room.
Do we have to?
This is my brother Q, Quentin.
What's up, everybody? What's up? Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me?
You kicked Avia off, bro? Hold on, dog.
I don't think that was him.
Can y'all hear me? Can you hear me? Everybody's good?
No, we can hear you.
You pick up a little more?
Where did Avia go?
I didn't have anything to do with that.
Y'all really kicked a black girl out for a black man? Really?
I know. Can you get your people? Go gather your girl.
He's married.
Hey, you back. I don't know how I can come behind having that great writer. I've been watching the whole time. I don't know how I can come behind that. Y'all might as well just cut it off now. Just cut it off now.
Yeah, just cut it off now.
All right,
That was great. That was amazing.
y'all.
I don't know how to come behind.
But no. For those who don't know, I am not the only slightly annoying and/or fun person that you may know with the name of Q. This is my
ACS old beefs. Sorry, I had to clarify the beefs.
Yeah, way old beefs.
Stir in the pot.
They ain't stale either. They fresh. Come on,
fresh.
This is my. Where did Mike go? So you kicking folks off, and I'm trying to.
I told you we shouldn't have brought him here.
Oh,
this is Quentin.
This is my brother. At the end, y'all, this is the person who, at the end of every episode, I say I do Into the Quniverse with on Facebook Live, where we basically do this, but since he created it, it has to be a lot more calmer than how I kind of all seem to like. So
obviously,
you know, we've been best friends de facto for 26 of my years and 29 of his.
I'm 28, sir.
What's the year? 2021, right? Which means in
I
April.
don't turn 29 till April.
What'd I say? So my de facto best friend is for
making his intro kind of long, buddy.
Yeah,
he does that. Hey, this is his thing. Let him go. No, they ain't stale. They fresh today.
I'm trying to big you up to the people who don't know you exist. Matter of fact, you can have him, Key. I'm done.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You since you don't want the intros, you got it. Go ahead.
Are you a praying man? I mean, just asking.
Okay.
I just want y'all to know I love each and every one of y'all, and I'm just so happy to be on the show. You guys are great people, and I'm just so happy and so gracious to be on the show. And y'all are so great, and I see y'all going to so many great places. That's all I wanted to say.
And to that we say,
let's go to get a sip of water.
Thank you.
So,
wow.
Wow. You just couldn't wait.
The bed.
Couldn't wait.
Do you want me to go to the other? I can go to the other one, but
No.
What's the topic? What are we talking about today?
Key getting on your tail.
Yep.
Okay, so we got to lay context. So what's the context? What happened?
So my context is one day I decided, you know what? Let me check out this show Q be telling me about. It sounds like it's good. Let me just sit in and peep. I sit in and peeped, all right, and I left mad as hell.
Ooh,
because this young man beside me was on some bullshit. Because it was about Marvel and DC. But it's not the fact of the matter it was about Marvel and DC. It was the fact of the matter he was commenting about shit he ain't even seen. Boy. Really?
I can't
really?
That's
I can't
help you, sir. That's above me.
It's not the fact of the matter that y'all were arguing about it. It's the fact you ain't seen nothing you were talking about. So how can you hate from the club when you ain't even
can't even get in? Right.
That's what I wanted to know.
My turn.
Yeah, your turn. Go ahead.
Okay. Now I thought we had already established this, but I guess I'll reiterate. Because last time we had the meeting off camera for everyone who doesn't know about behind the scenes. And I did.
Who gave you permission to disclose?
Listen, don't let me get that audio out. I should have sent y'all that audio.
You're first of all, you're disclosing audio. You're disclosing topics that we have not discussed normally. That would be
exactly. So you can't tell the public.
This is a direct response, and you're trying to say meetings that may or may not exist.
Yes, and I should have sent that audio of my 5-year-old saying "snitches get stitches" with her little lisp on. So because
you gotta keep it. You gotta answer it directly, sir. Ain't no meetings.
Okay, all right. Well, we're going to answer this just like how I stated before. I am new to this whole ordeal. I am new. I'm a growing podcast. I'm a growing person, as I think a lot of us grow. And yes, I am used to debating with my brother, where a lot of the time you always don't need concrete information when you're honestly just debating to only further your own agenda and not necessarily learn or be corrected. But as in growing, you do get corrected. And I'm perfectly fine with being corrected, being caught out on my bullshit. And that's just it.
Except for
that's
when
what I did. I called him out on that because that my thing is not y'all arguing, but you were so determined that you were right. But how were you right when you didn't have the evidence?
That just happens.
That's what got me.
That just happened. I bet you. I'm pretty sure you can go back to any of our after episodes after it was brought to my attention that somebody felt that way, and everything after that has been clearly 100% done research.
You got your proof. Yeah, you got your receipts now. I'm happy about that.
Not to cut you off on your riveting tale cue, but shout out to Anthony.
Thank you, Anthony.
Yes. Thank you.
We got, for those who don't know, MulDiversity, we have a Teespring, we got some Patreons, we've got some OnlyFans, we've got
no, don't
cut it out.
See, I got kids.
You know that
I'm a professor. No, you can't do that.
I didn't say y'all. I said
anyway.
Anyway, back to what I was saying. Anyway, back to the jokes I was making. Where'd Mike go? Oh, hey, Mike, what's up, dude? I ain't see where you went.
I'll cut the fees. Stop playing with me. We'll cut this show short.
Oh my god.
But yes. Anthony. Anthony brings up another topic of which is most recent before we start laughing too severely at each other. Of the past hour before we started, Ray Fisher
got cut.
Posted on social media, Twitter, that Warner Brothers informed him that he was not going to be in The Flash, and he expressed his. We have the do we have anybody have the tweet pulled up of ready to be available? So we can look at the
link. Hang on. I can grab you the link. Keep on talking. I'll grab the link.
But yes, essentially he was expressing, the BS that happened with that, and expressing how essentially this was never about simply maintaining a role in a film. It was about having individuals who were being toxic and were having a negative influence on Warner Brothers, having them ousted and having the proper and doing it through the proper channels, and how Walter Hamada numerous occasions enabled these individuals to stay in power, and how basically he was trying to stop and curtail anything Ray was trying to have done the entire time. And effectively, and I'm about to pull it up in a hot second for you guys.
You got it?
Yeah, I'm about to screen share it now.
Okay, why are you doing that, Key? Who is?
Don't ask. It's a K-pop thing. It's a K-pop thing. Don't ask.
Okay. I'm not going into K-pop business. Okay.
See,
get out of K-pop business.
Okay, so
wait.
All right, so hopefully this is big enough for everyone to read and or see.
Are you serious right now,
bro?
Do you see your screen? Boy, no. Okay, anybody who wants to read it, you can go find Ray Fisher's account on Twitter. Just and you'll get it. The whole thing is there. Actually, if you just put his name in the search, it'll pop up everywhere because it's all over the place at this point. So
hold on.
But yeah, essentially, it all comes down to Walter Hamada's continued bullshit and the fact that they opted to do this instead of simply removing Hamada and the individuals who, through numerous corroborated investigations that Warner Media themselves said that they have took remedial actions on the individuals involved. that alone tells me that they are continually bullshitting. And as you can see on throughout the video, you've seen the hashtag DC Blackout at the bottom of the video. And essentially what I said and suggested that we do is essentially for 24 hours unfollow any Warner Brothers or DC accounts on social media that just for 24 hours, not follow them, not give them any engagements, and tweet for 24 hours. DC Blackout.
I'm the only woman in here now.
Where did Joe and Avia go?
Y'all really just left me with the me. Okay.
Okay, here's Avia.
Yep.
Here's Avia. And what did I say, Mike, to get punched?
So the blackout.
Yes, the blackout is what we are doing to show our support for Ray Fisher and the just general BS that is going on with that. And I'm over it. I said that for me, myself personally, it's looking like Zack Snyder's Justice League is going to be the last DC film I support. I'm not going to be supporting The Flash. I'm not going to be supporting Black Adam. Not going to be supporting the Batman. Not going to be supporting Shazam 2. I was never going to support the Suicide Squad. I was never going to do any of that. And I feel like what we need to show is that we're, as fans of this content, we're not going to support and it's not even just about keeping Ray as Cyborg. It's about we're not going to support them if these individuals are going to be in power, and we're not going to support them just completely thinking that this is okay. Dre says, no, put pressure on the leaders of Black Lives Matter who's working with Warner Brothers.
We should let Dre come on in too. Because, there's a lot that can be said right now.
You know what? That's the funny part about what Dre just said. Put the pressure on the people who are doing the Black Lives Matter thing. Here's the funny part about all of that. You would think they would be on this already. But because, once again, I'm going to keep on saying this till I'm dead and gone. Because the man is a part of a freaking series they didn't like. Who gives a shit? Who honestly gives a shit? Because that's how they put it. Like, I'm going to keep saying this till I'm blue in the face. When that other dude at that other company was mad about how his role was in some stupid movie, he had support out the ass. But Ray is fighting for not just himself, but for his castmates, for crew members, for everybody else abused on that set. But, well, he's a part of Zack Snyder's though, so who cares?
Yeah, I definitely agree. And I feel like, and I'm tossing to you, Q, because, I want to hear what you think about this as well. But I feel like, everyone here, we know a lot of white nerds with platforms who over the past 6 months or so since Ray first spoke out, they've, reached out to him and let him come on and speak his piece. But there's a lot of Black outlets out there who have paid it dust. And I know Joe can speak to this because she is someone who has been covering this from Jump Street and have been trying to push it, and it's been ignored for the reasons Keith just named. It's about the favoritism. It's about this, we only care to it's very much given. We only care
about Disney. I don't give a shit. They only care about Disney folks.
We only care about
Chris Pratt got called the worst Chris out there, and it was 11 folks supporting him.
I'll take it a step further. They only care about the Black folks in Disney. If you aren't in that group where you're attached to a Disney franchise and you're a Black actor, they're gonna wait all day until the heat death in the universe to say anything about it. But just going off of everything that we about the situation and everything, what are your feelings on it?
Well, me personally, I definitely agree with what Keith was saying, but just from talking to a lot of people who's not well as versed is in the community as we are, people who are just kind of hearing the news sparsely here and there. It just makes me feel like a lot of people, not saying you guys or all the other outlets that are standing by him, but a lot of people are just getting into it, not understanding what's really going on. A lot, I've been hearing a lot of people say, well, like he was saying about he's in the Snyder Cut and all of this, that it's diminishing what's actually going on to him. And a lot of people, I feel like, that are not really embedded in the community are just going to get on behind him thinking it's at a lower level and it's just going to fad out amongst the majority of people, because I feel like they haven't really done the research on what's going on or really even care to know, as long as the Snyder Cut comes out and he's in it. So I definitely am more worried that it's going to become more of a fad and just die out instead of more of a turning point that we should really be looking towards, that this doesn't happen to other actors of color going forward. But I just feel personally that it's bad.
Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, that's my concern, that of course is what's happening to Ray Fisher and the stigma that he was difficult to work with due to what you guys saying favoritism is wrong. But I think in the bigger scale of things, it's they're trying to paint it where it's like a small incident and this is just this one actor, but this has happened to many other actors of color. And I just don't want it to become another fad where it's like, oh, we stand behind him until Snyder Cut comes out. Now we're back on DC bandwagon. So.
Yeah. So Kay just talked about Janet from Fresh Prince, how she was like difficult. Yeah. And she was difficult. Yeah, Janet Hubert, she was difficult when, whatever happened back then, she was given that label, difficult. Ray's been given that label, difficult. It took Janet 27 years, is that what they said, to get back home?
Yes.
Okay, so the industry is like stuck on that. Another thing is you've got the stigma of the nerd culture. I mean, there is a stigma behind nerd culture out there, and you feel it when you work, like I do with like larger mainstream publications, because the moment I say DC Comics or a comic book name, I can just feel, on the phone, just like hear the interest just kind of go, they don't, there's no interest in it. To them, the audience is too small. There's too much infighting politics. They don't want to get into it. And so they just rather not. And then they've been told, they've also been, given this narrative about comics and stuff like that. Now Disney has given a little bit of street cred to Marvel, and so Marvel is, they kind of come up a little bit. They're a little bit more prestigious, that, and they give better gifts. So yeah, I think that they get more leeway than DC Comics does. But y'all, when it comes to like when I'm pitching something to like the Washington Post or something, if I say Marvel, DC, whatever, if I do a comic name or a superhero name, it's like, okay, next. Unless I can, I did get a couple articles through from a parenting aspect by talking about, how I use them, how my kids, like comics. That's the only way, you have to have an angle. But I also knew the editor, so she knows that, I'm not going to be about any of that stuff that you hear stereotypically with the comic stuff. So I mean, it's a lot, and there's a lot to wade through, and it doesn't help when you got people who have the blue checks, who are in the community. Y'all are supposed to be in the nerd community, Black nerd community. We got a Black nerd. I mean, because Ray is a straight up nerd. You got a Black nerd who is in distress, who's been sending signals for months that, stuff is going on, and he's got it all right there on his timeline. And you know what? They can just look it up at any time. But I will say that, I'm glad he keeps on posting, because I mean, I think that social media is going to save him, because if it wasn't for us, If it wasn't for like somebody said, you have the white streaming guys, like Point Dexter and Nicotina and all them, great guys. But I mean, this is a black nerd who should have been put up by the black nerd community, and he was not. As a matter of fact, that they turned and pivoted on the same stereotypes that these editors did in the mainstream that they do to us all the time. So that's another thing. But yeah, social media is saving them. We're saving them. And if we weren't doing this, if those streamers weren't doing this, I think that Warner Brothers will be treating them a lot worse.
Yeah.
Yep, definitely.
Right. And like just to touch back on your point with the blue check marks, that the blurred blue check marks, like it bothers me because over the past couple of days, a significant writer of color, blurred blogger, she was just was like, oh man, I can't believe all of this stuff is happening to Ray, and I haven't seen anyone talk about it. And I'm like, what are you talking about? There's literally like the fandom has literally done at least 2 major hashtags in the last 3 weeks that have did major numbers. Jason Momoa and Gal Gadot literally have done interviews and or made statements like that corroborating everything that he said. And
that's right there, Trey. Where he at?
And Dre makes an excellent point. These black, they're not really looking for change. They're looking for seats at the table. And it goes so far back as in, last week when we did our Black Label, we touched on some of the problems with the fandom and how, and how incumbent it is, for trying to nip it in the bud. So it's not something that, the black people or the Asians or, whatever sort of specific problem a fandom has is not incumbent on the victims to speak on it. And this is these black blue check marks talking about it now is a microcosm of it, because, and this goes back to what Key and Joe were saying, when this stuff is happening in its primordial instance, in the genesis, that's when we bring this to your attention so we can nip it in the bud then and there. So it's not an issue months, years down the line, and it's like, oh, this guy didn't get any justice then, but he's getting it. Like, and it's like they're purposefully, in my opinion, ignoring the stuff so they can either sit under these white writers who work at these major nerd publications who have an axe to grind against, whether it be DC generally or Zack Snyder or whoever. They got these axes to grind, and these folks, these black blurred bloggers or blue checkers want to be so ingrained in that culture or those opportunities that they willingly ignore it. And then when they smell like, oh, this will be a big story where I actually can get clout, that's when they want to come back around and go, man, this is happening. I couldn't believe it. Like the aforementioned significant blurred blogger stated that she didn't know that there were anybody writing anything about it. And she's friends with Joe, or associates of Joe, rather. And Joe's literal pinned tweet on her Twitter account is the article she wrote, 2 years ago now at this point?
Yeah, about the whitewashing. Yeah.
About the whitewashing. Meaning it's very hard for her to miss that sort of thing. And I feel like it's purposefully being obtuse. And, I'm not, and the fact that they disregarded Gal's, the statements Gal made, which is another can of worms that equally is garbage and, everything. And I feel like it's hard for me to really come to them and try to bring anything into their attention anymore, because I know that if they don't see it as it's happening, there's a 99% chance they never gave a fuck. And so when this type of stuff happens, it always bothers me because, and like we said, Poindexter, Nicotina, they're great guys. They're awesome. But these are the times where
World's finest. Yeah, we gotta say World's finest.
World's finest. Shout outs to them.
Mm-hmm.
These are instances like with Ray where Black people should be leading the charge when we have major platforms so it can be heard. So then we can spread it amongst ourselves, and because we understand, we empathize with what Ray's going through. When I see these major publications not doing any sort of coverage on it as it's happening on real time, that bothers me.
Does anybody have anything to say? I had a question I wanted to ask.
Go ahead.
I just have one thing to say. Before the movie even came out, he didn't really get any press from the Black media before the movie even came out, and he should have. He should have been on the cover of Ebony Essence. Anybody and everybody should have been covering him playing Cyborg because that was a big deal, and none of them really did that. So that always made me upset. He never, even before, when he came out, so he said, even like right before the movie came out, he got no coverage from the Black media, and that always kind of made me feel some type of way.
Like I said before, homie over on the other side of the tracks was pissed off because he didn't get a happy ending at the end of his movie, and he gets freaking articles out the ass.
And not saying that he shouldn't, because just based off of the things that were being promised at the beginning and just how left everything went, and how it's very well still bogus, the fact still remains is that it was favoritism. He got his time in the sun for something objectively, from his own admission, wasn't as severe as what Ray
minuscule. It was literally minuscule.
It it's something that is a creative difference, and it may very well have been specifically done for racist reasons. But he still said that the people he worked with were great, and
he loved movies,
and more or less, the rest of the actors don't want to do those movies any more than he does anymore. So it's kind of a mutual feeling. And again, he got his time in the sun, but Ray got nothing. It's literally the fans and of course the actors speak very highly of him. We spoke of the Poindexter Lounge. They interviewed Ray Porter, who plays Darkseid in the Snyder Cut, and he spoke glowingly of Ray and said that he stands with him. So that's again another indictment. But Q, you had your question.
Yeah, because we all of us understand what happened to Ray was wrong, and we've seen this story just a different day so many times. So I try to bring a question that's gonna ask something of us. So a lot of us, we watch Marvel, DC, all types of these movies. This is what we're here for. And for a lot of people, it's a form of escapism. It's a form of getting away and getting to a new world, and they really enjoy these. And how do we, as the media, this format, this platform, get to people who might feel like they want to stand behind Ray, but these movies, even this specific DC genre superhero movie or action movie, is the only way they can escape, and this is what makes them feel the happiest and feel the best to say, I'm going to put this to the side because this matters more to me, even if these movies and the specific genre and these specific characters mean so much to them and their story being told. How do we get them?
Can I answer that one?
Go ahead.
Yeah.
Okay. So the reason why I got a good answer for this is because I'm a huge Harry Potter fan. So everybody knows how J.K. Rowling has been.
Yes.
What I have done is seen how more people talk over, talk against what she's saying, and showing that, hey, that's her, not us. Mm-hmm. So with DC, I'm remembering that, Jason supported him, Gaul supported him. He got everybody, around him saying, hey, this is true, this happened. So I got to remember, it's not a whole thing. It's mostly two people. At the end of the day, it's really two people. At the end of the day. When you break it down, it's really just like Hamada, Geoff, Whedon, whatever. It's not the whole big picture. So that's what sometimes you have to remind yourself. It's not sometimes it is everyone, but oftentimes it's only a minuscule of people.
So, Key, do you still watch Harry Potter?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, because all the actors have spoken out how they are not with what she was saying, so it's easy for me to do that.
But I think the hardest part that we got to deal with is that those two, really 2 to 3 people are the ones in charge, and they're the ones, constantly doing these smoke and mirrors.
Yeah.
Like that's what makes it so difficult.
Yeah, I was just
Very
gonna say
slave
that
masterish.
I was gonna say that there's a whole the idea is to separate the creator from the creation.
I was just thinking that I didn't want to be wrong, but I was like, is it too early to say that?
No. And it comes from see, this is why I love having this literary background, because you can use that for film. In literature, you kind of make that severance so that you can really get into the book and analyze the book for what it is without having the creator's influence on it. Well, in film, it makes it a lot harder because the director is like at the front, and that's who you see. And the directors are just as famous as the people that are in the movie, and even some of the people like Joss Whedon, he's a producer and he's a director, but we know a lot about him for him to just be behind the camera. And so that's what makes it harder than authors. But we're gonna have to, as audience, one of the things we have to do is and that's why it was so easier for Potter fans, because it's easy for books. You're gonna have to sever your favorite, whatever, from the creator and think of it as its own little world. And you can do that. You can think of, because there's so many different people that have done different little things in the DC world that all the storylines go together, they all mesh, they're made by different people. It's just gonna take some work, but you can do it. Go ahead.
Not for nothing, everything's gonna be like HBO Max anyway, so
yeah, that's another thing too.
I was connected to HBO Max.
I was just speaking from a standpoint on if we're trying to make an impact. And a lot of these movies are they're going to gain monetary gain from us watching them and indulging in them. And I was just saying for people, if we're trying to make a message, I'm not saying this is the best way. I'm not saying this is what people need to do. I'm just saying that a lot of times people quit cold turkey. Do you feel like that would be a proper way if we're saying we stand behind Ray and we don't want this to happen to another actor of color or another minority actor? So we need to take a stand, and taking the hand out their mouth. Would that be a possible way to get them to understand, like, we can't keep doing this because it's not going to end well for us? Would that be?
Yeah. Well, you can consume the films.
Yeah,
you can consume the. Okay, so what you can do is you can consume the films, but you and avoid the box office. That's where the money is going to come. That's where the numbers are going to come. That's where so if you avoid the box office, you can watch the DVD all day and then you're not going to make any extra money. You can replay that on HBO Max all day long, and it's the thing is having the patience to wait for it to get out of the theater, because the theater is where it's going to hurt. Or if you want to wait until that first month is over. That's when they really do their tabulations. You're still going to be giving them money after that, but it's not going to have that much of an impact. If you want to make it, you can do it that way.
And not for nothing, we're in the middle of a Panda Express anyway, so.
Yes, until the Panera is done, everything's going to go straight to streaming. If not immediately, wait a month.
Yeah. And I say this because, I've already made for myself the personal declaration that I'm not going to see any film that's not Zack Snyder's Justice League posted until Walter Hamada is not DC film president. Zack Snyder's Justice League is probably more than likely, and by all of that I mean specifically, is the last thing I see in any form of DC films media. I won't be saying
that's what's going to happen anyway.
Yeah.
That anyway.
Yeah. And just to touch on Meg, bringing this point up, I'm a huge, and Q will tell you this, huge proponent of speaking with your wallet and just completely cutting it off if it doesn't interest you, and if you feel like you've done something egregious. So when you say, how do you feel about still supporting other WB films or the DC Comics brand? I feel like that is more so to your own personal preference. Me personally, go ahead, Joe.
So the thing is, we're in the day and age of social media. Yeah. So if you tarnish a brand, with your words, sometimes that's more than that's more than any money can do. There have been brands that have been taken all the way down because, you know, people have, you bring their name up and it's trash. Like the whole timeline is trash. That's why that's another reason why people don't like fandoms, is because you have this group of people, you have the masses, you have the people, and they have this power, and nobody wants to come up against that power. And so they try to downplay it and belittle it, but you know, just because they don't want them to know, they don't want us to know how powerful we are as a unit. Now, if we decided that, hey, this was going to the Snyder Cut is going to be the last film we are good with, the rest of them that come up, you know, we're gonna let the floodgates open. We're not protecting nobody. We're not gonna go out there and support nothing. Y'all ain't getting promotions, nothing like that. Or if, you know, you got some of them that, you know, okay, we'll let you have, y'all ain't seen the trolls on this side. We're gonna let you see the trolls. We're gonna let them just, you know, grow like weeds. The thing is, what that'll do is that'll tarnish the brand sometimes, and sometimes you can get the brand so tarnished that it'll have to quit. Yeah, that's what he's talking about. But even then, though, that's kind of a little bit tricky, because you got to have people committed enough to stay at it, you know.
Exactly. And that's what I was saying about like the people who are so passionate about the projects that they feel like they're weighing a scale on, do I stand with Ray or do I still promote something I love because they're so passionate about the projects? And that's what I was saying, because there's going to be some people dealing with that. And a lot of people, that's their escape, watching these movies with these characters.
Yeah.
I'm going to add one thing.
With that,
yeah.
Everybody's talking at the same time.
Yeah, I know. We're talking over one another. I was just going to reiterate something that Ray has said a lot about it's just those people.
Yeah.
So it's not the other brands. It's not everything. It's not that.
Yeah.
So if you want to, in your brain, you can, I mean, that he has said it himself. It's not the other properties. It's the people that's in there that is messed up. So go ahead. That's all I want to add.
Yeah, I feel so
I have
good knowing.
3 words. I have 3 words that are answer to that. Accountability over entertainment.
Yes.
There you go.
And I have more than 3 words.
I agree.
Yeah, it's basically what everyone's saying. It's all literally down to preference. I mean, just knowing the fandom like we do, like most of these folks was going to cut bait as soon as the Snyder Cut was dropped.
As
anyway.
soon as the Snyder Cut,
you know they were going to cut.
Yeah, so that's so this kind of plays into the hand, because it's like, you know, a lot of them either, or you have the group that only want the Zack Snyder films, and then you have the folks who want the stuff that, you know, is following not in line tonally, but have the same levels of autonomy and kind of continues with themes and characters Zach and Patty and James and David started, as well as having some of their original visions, you know, brought back. And so it's going to be easy for them to not see the Batman. It's going to be easy for them not to see the Flash or Shazam or Black Adam, because to them, they felt like they weren't going to be continuing anyway in any meaningful way. And like I've said this before, Warner Brothers is really freaking good. They're really fucking good at confirming the fandom's worst fear. They always seem to just do it entirely, even though when people beg them not to. So, you know, like personally, I say vote with your wallet. Now, as far as other WB stuff, whether it be just adjacent WB films like Mortal Kombat or Kong versus Godzilla, I don't think
Mortal Kombat got nothing to do with this.
Thank you. Exactly. We're not
wallets. Y'all was just about vote with your wallets. Y'all look at that rollback. Look at that.
Wait a
minute. This for what?
Don't get no road rash tracking back that fast. I mean,
if they would have let me finish, they wouldn't have had no road rash. I was going to say that you don't
be like crazy as hell.
You don't have to do that if you don't feel inclined, if you're going to do it. And specifically, Ray if we're doing this for Ray, we have to take his lead on what he feels like will accomplish the most. Mm-hmm. And Ray could very easily say, you know, he appreciates everything we're doing, but he feels like a more nuanced way to go about it. He might say DC Blackout, you know, he appreciates the idea, but there might be a better, more nuanced way to speak directly to them. And as fans who say we stand with him and for him, we have to take his lead and go about it accordingly. We still can have the personal things we do, but at the end of the day, it's not our job. We can't hijack it. We can't hijack it on our own thing. If we're going to do something for someone, we have to do it for them and listen to them so we understand how to do it. Like emotions are very raw. Emotions are very high. I can tell you when I read that I was stupid mad about it because that meant that I would have to just either not look at the stuff I like or just look at the stuff I don't like out of protest. But it's the fact of the matter is it needs to be done. And I do feel like there has to be a significant message to DC and Warner Brothers and to show and to test AT&T's mettle because, we haven't spoke about them, but they are just as important.
They're responsible
because they're the big daddy essentially now.
They're the new daddy.
They so it's at the end of the day, who popping in? Oh, it's Dre. Oh, y'all said something to Dre? Oh, okay.
Yeah, I told him to come on and let him explain this comment because it was a comment. So
I agree with AT&T. AT&T is the new daddy, and the new daddy ain't said nothing.
Yeah. All right,
Exactly.
let me think of a comment because Mike didn't read, so now I have to come up with something cool to say about Dre and about.
Oh my God!
Here he is.
You've been holding up stuff
the
for like
man
15
with the
minutes now.
plan. Here he is, Big Money Dre. Holla at him.
What's up?
What up? What up? What up? What up?
What's up? What's
What's
up?
up, Dre?
I was having camera trouble. That's what took me so long. But how y'all doing?
Good.
It's good.
I'm about to say, explain your comment that you put up. You said because a lot of black blue checks ain't really looking for change; they just want a seat at the table.
That's
Definitely,
true.
100%.
I mean, he ain't wrong.
100%.
I think that came from me being out in LA for like almost 2 years now. And then I'm out here, pursuing a career in film. And I just know like sometimes when I'm like have the chance to actually interact with people and like in certain events, and sometimes the people who are the gatekeepers of these of the people we see like on TV or the blue check marks we see on Twitter who's always so vocal about all these issues, but then when you actually see them in person and when there's no cameras and everything on Twitter around, then you realize they're really not. It's more about show and about just trying to show that they're like pro-black and they're really about this like progression of the black movement, but they really just want you to think that, but behind the scenes they're doing everything they can just to progress themselves and their friends.
Yes.
They just want no following.
Yeah, they just want the following. They just want that clout. And I'm not gonna say there aren't people who's trying who's really about that talk. But for the most part, from what I've seen, a lot of them are not. Because with this whole rape thing, like this has been out since July?
Yeah.
And I haven't really seen many articles. I've seen like little things here and there, but you haven't seen the outrage if it was like someone else. If this is like Issa Rae or somebody who's actually working at WB with HBO, there would be no doubt that this would be blowing up on Black Twitter right now. But the fact
This is blur Twitter popular though.
Yeah, but even then we've seen it on a smaller level before. We've seen these issues with people who are just like or just writers or something, or at a publication or something, and they bring these issues to the forefront, and we've seen how Black Twitter latch onto that, and they will propel those issues. But for whatever reason with Ray, I don't understand why this hasn't caught on so much, especially when you have the same company who's working with the leaders of Black Lives Matter and other numerous activist groups doing documentaries about them, but at the same time, you have this guy, your only black superhero at the moment, and you are writing him out of your movie. I don't understand how that works. What exactly? What's the message? And that's what I think. WB, like I know you guys saying that some of you guys are saying that you probably like won't support their movie some more. I don't believe WB has any support anyway. Like, to be honest with you, They don't know, to be keep it real with you, and I have to give it to Disney. Like Disney, they had their own problems, but at the same time, Disney just know how to keep that shit under wraps. WB every single month is still like I'm hearing like something coming out. This rumor is this about someone. Someone is done to this person. Something did to this person. This executive is doing this. Like Disney, you hear nothing. Like they got their stuff under lock and key. And I feel like this is just gonna be another thing that's gonna be added to the list. And I just feel like at this point, WB probably should just wrap it up and just stop. Because they're not gonna have any support. They already isolated the Zack Snyder fans. They already have this rap about their movie sucking. Who's going to support them? No one. Like at all. Like, I'm just saying. Like, they don't. They're doing so much to like do this PR thing to try to cover this up, but at the same time, you should be trying to fix this. Like you can really fix this with the Zack Snyders, with the fans. You can literally fix all this where everybody come together. But instead, you're trying to do this PR stuff that's just like everyone see right through. But that's what I have to say.
No, I think you're right. I think you're right because, yeah, and the thing is, it feels like you've got these people who are up here, who are like disconnected from everything else, too. So you got this like band of people that are doing whatever they want and putting out all this stuff, and then you got the rest of the company trying to clean it up. I don't understand it. And did y'all see today that the Martian Manhunter thing was out about Harry Lennox, the thing that came out last year? They put that out today.
Yeah,
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, they did like Collider tried to
Collider.
When
Collider
try to act like it was like a scoop or something.
When Zach literally said it, and Harry said it in multiple interviews last year and shit. But
it's these little things they keep doing. They are a master at covering up, and it's just like we see it though. Like we know what you're doing, but you're just steadily trying to like just blow passes and thinking it's just going to go away. But what you're doing is you're isolating your fans that you do have, your core fans at that. You're isolating them where they just don't even give a fuck no more, and they're going to move on. So it's just like I'm disappointed. Like I really love DC. Like I grew up on DC. This is like it's my escapism. But I can't keep sitting here and supporting y'all when y'all keep doing the same bullshit every single week. I feel like every week there's an issue. There's something that's happening within the business, and it's just like, how can I keep defending y'all? Like, and then on top of that, you're only black.
Like we all feel like that.
You've literally written out your only black superhero. Like that's the only one, and that's another issue. Like, where's the other black superheroes? Why hasn't it taken almost 10 years to have a black movie? And then the fact that you literally just went weeks on and just said that it's a risk to have Static Shock in a movie theaters, so you're gonna put it on HBO Max. What type of shit is that? What messaging are you trying to send? But you're sitting up here trying to work with Black Lives Matter and all this shit. It's all performative. It's all bullshit. And I'm done. I'm tired.
And not for nothing, Dre. Real quick, Dre. One of my friends in the comments said you're cute. That they ain't got nothing to do with nothing. But I can
they say what?
They say you're cute.
Oh, thank you.
So basically, like again,
the first portion of this.
It is.
Okay.
Yeah. So like,
can I address what Kit's question though, real quick?
Yeah.
She's talking about the balance because Dre did come up with some good points about how they get in there and it's almost gatekeepery, like some of them, but there are people in there, good people like Kay, who just came on, who's always trying to hold the door open. So Kit, I think that you can still get in there and pass the stories along, hold the door open, and things like that. This is like, but even with Ray's story, if you have access to an editor that is needing something, hey, slip her this, you can still do these little things. I know, because I know it is difficult for Black people in media. It is. You have to walk a fine line, and if you are too radical, they don't want to work with you. If you are too vocal, they don't want to work with you. And I've been told that sometimes my Twitter is too hot and I need to tone it down. And, I haven't gotten yes, because I'm too opinionated. And so basically they want me to be, smaller. Yeah. And I'm like, no, I'm not doing that. So I guess I'm not writing for y'all. But Kit, there are this is where you're going to have to get low key and just do the best you can. But we're not. I think the people that we're talking about though are actively ignoring this. They're not
not
trying.
The ones stuck in a rock and a hard place. The ones that see this for HD color.
Because there are people out there like me, other ones out there like me, trying to get pitches in, trying to get editors to do stuff. Look at Shiraz. Shiraz finally broke through, and look what happened to him. That's why it's so hard. You got these lawyers on the other side just waiting. But yeah.
Yeah. And the
Joe, I have a question for you. To that point. So, do you have any? Can you kind of clarify, just wholly on that everybody doesn't need to hold the door open? That some people need to take a stand because we need some people at that level taking a stand, showing that we need to do this, and not everybody that's at that level trying to say, "Oh, I'm just holding the door open. I can't get involved because I'm trying to hold the door open."
Well, we know you can tell the ones who could they trying to hold the door. It's like, okay, you made the door. Okay, you order people around. Somebody else has your keys. Stop it. Gone somewhere. Yeah. They know what they're doing. And those are the shady ass people that we're talking about. The ones who are like, "Oh, but I'm trying. And look I tried to do that." No, you didn't. You didn't do that. And we saw that this week, remember?
Yeah.
All the excuses. Yeah.
Great.
I think
Anthony has his shirt on right now. Like that is crazy.
Nice.
Oh, that's what's up.
I got questions, but I'm trying to let everybody else talk. I had a question for Dre. I didn't want to over talk anybody.
No, ask away, because I feel like this is the time where we can really just talk. I mean,
all I was gonna just say was just I agree with everybody. So I'm not everybody's just saying all my points because I know he don't like me talking no way. So
come on.
Dre, I was gonna just piggyback off of what you said because I feel like MulDiversity and me and my brother's podcast Into the Universe, I feel like the media is really are the, I'm not gonna say powerhouses, but we're the voices that are the ones that I feel like need to be heard. And how do you feel like personally being in there with, like you said, the blue checkers, the people who have a larger voice than we do? How do we get to a point where we're able to weed out the ones who don't mean the community any good, in turn not allowing other people that we connect with to be in that same position where they're just there for looks? How do you feel like we're going to get to a place where we can have I know it's never going to be perfect, but how we have a majority of people who mean the community well and want to actually see the community grow in a positive way? How do you think we should get to that point?
Interesting. I think that listen, I don't think everyone is going to, like you said, no one is going to do it perfectly all the time. And I think there's going to always be someone who's not satisfied. But I feel like, for instance, being out here, I came out here to write and direct. And right now I've been pursuing the writing side more often. So a lot of times, like I said, I would try to do like these initiatives, or I try to do these events and stuff just to network, because I'm not like I'm a really introverted person. So it's really hard for me to kind of like just open up. And, being out here, you have to have kind of like you have to be extroverted in some form of way. You got to kind of like push yourself, because that's literally the only way you're probably going to get a crumb of anything. So far as your question, I would need to, instead of you typing and on putting, I want to do this and I want to do that, I need someone to actually to go out, to provide opportunities, and to show me that you're honestly, truthfully trying to provide people with a chance. Now, whether they take it or not, that's on them. But I haven't seen that yet. And I really can't, it's really hard for me to answer your question, because I haven't really seen that yet. I've seen people create those opportunities, but then you find out later on that someone knows someone who gave them that opportunity. There's always a middleman, or it's always just a person who created that opportunity. There's never any just like, oh, I came into town, I don't know anyone out here, so I got an opportunity. I never hear that, very rarely, but it's always some middleman. I don't know how do we change it, because every time I thought the person who was trying to change it really wasn't. So I just don't trust anyone. I don't. And it's not to say like, oh, I have all like the talents or anything, because I probably can just suck, and that's probably why I'm not getting picked. But when you hear people's stories and there's always some middleman in the reason why they got that opportunity, then you're like, well, what really chance do I have? I don't know anyone out here like that. I know a few people, but I'm not like I don't have the greatest connections and stuff like that. I wish I did, but even then, it's just like, so I don't really know. I really can't answer that question.
I just feel like it's unfortunate. I just feel like it's unfortunate because, and not to, if anybody wants to interject, y'all can at any time. I just feel like it's unfortunate.
Kay just answered that question, I think, for us. She did, because she talked about it too. Did you see the segment where we had?
I didn't see it. I'm gonna look at it after.
Yeah, you should listen, because she talked about that too, and how she tries herself to try to do, like, she did a workshop here just with us. So I think that you have to, when you get to those spots, you have to reach back down. And even when I was at Sundance last year, I was listening to there was a talk being given about reaching down, reaching back, and not just holding the door open. That's not enough. You got to reach back and pull the next one in. And so there was a big talk on that, and a lot of the Black women celebrities talked about the person that reached back for them and pulled them up. And so I think that, because a lot of them talk about, like you, and I think that that's what we got to do. And until all of us start doing it, it's not going to happen. I mean, you still got some of us, as soon as we get to the table, we ain't trying to let nobody else in. We elbow in.
Yeah.
I mean, I've experienced that myself. As soon as they think you gonna try to take their seat, I'm like, I'm not trying to take your seat. I mean, there's enough space for all of us. But not elbow somebody away and everything. So yeah, I think we've got too much of that going on, and people are worried about that. And you're not enough of the holding the door open and sending the hand back. So, but yeah, watch that first segment.
I will. But I want it. But if I could, I really want to just help people. I want to help my peoples, like my friends and stuff. But I also want to just help that person that just like that don't know no one, that has no friends, or they have friends, but they don't have those connections. But I feel like there's people who's trying, but it's just one in a bunch of snakes.
It is basically
like what they can only do so much, but they kind of get like lost in the sauce, I guess.
Yeah. Excellent verbiage. Yeah, I can say that a lot. What say you, Avi? What's your thoughts and opinions? Because
yeah, I just feel like what Joe said, like until every Black person is able to, bring each other up, it's I don't want to say a lost cause, but it's not going to happen unless we do that. It's not going to happen.
Yeah.
Indubitably, as Aaron would say, that I'm stealing his word from this point forward.
Right. And I'm just gonna put it out there. I know Black people that's up behind on some of this, that's up high enough in WB to do something, and they just sitting there. We talking to y'all.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's like it's that crab in the barrel mentality. Like, I'm here, but I'm gonna make sure you're those.
Yes.
And can we just go ahead and throw out there, since we're throwing things out there, stop allowing for the people that are in that spot of color and able to allow people to get to a space, stop allowing these other people to label people of color as difficult. If you knowing they're not difficult, stop allowing them to do that. That's in turn creating a stereotype that holds us back even more. So
It's
Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
infuriating.
I think it's time for black
Yeah.
people to start gatekeeping in Hollywood.
Definitely.
But ain't that what Tyler Perry do? And that ain't.
I don't know about
Tyler Perry.
Okay.
Yeah, almost everybody in their mother's
Whoa.
mad at him.
Whoa.
Like, ain't that what Tyler Perry be doing? And
The
then
only
everybody-
thing, the only thing that really irks me
No, the
about
only thing he does is
Emmett,
make sure that
let me
black
use his
women are
real
never
name.
happy.
Okay, exactly. And like, he's just now getting more writers in the writing room. When this whole time, I remember early 2020, he was like work ethic, and he had all these scripts laid out that he wrote himself, that it was all for him. And maybe that's the Aries in him. I don't know, but no disrespect to Aries.
Hey man,
but
hey, whoa,
like,
whoa.
I got 2 Aries on here. No disrespect to y'all, but I know how Aries like to be first and everything, and it's just, that's that gatekeeping nonsense that has to stop. He had this big. I keep saying he could be, without the awful parts of it, he could be doing what Weinstein did for Hollywood in the 90s. He could be doing that for black people
Without
in
all the rape.
Hollywood, in
Without
the
the
entertainment
extra
industry. Yeah, without the rape, without all that other stuff.
He
But
can do
like, he could
but
be doing that
the thing
right
is-
now, but he chooses not to.
he chooses to.
No, because that means he would
Oprah?
have to write something.
Let me just say, everyone
That
who
means
got
you have
on
to write
Monique,
something.
all of y'all, Lee Daniels, Oprah, all y'all could be doing so much more for us. We could be doing that FUBU stuff, but we're not.
Definitely.
We're not on that wave right now.
Definitely.
We're not on that wave.
Realness, no.
I mean, but like,
Why
I
is
mean,
that?
first of all,
No, go ahead, come on.
I wasn't saying first of all to you. I was just gonna say I've been trying to bring back FUBU for like 2 years now, but nobody's trying to wear it. And I've been
Let's
trying to
do
bring
it.
back. I've been trying to bring back lugs. I've been trying to bring back FUBU.
Oh
And
yeah.
trying to wear that. Why do folks get so mad when I do
There you go. It's getting to that time. He's getting to that point where he's closing
Okay,
us
so
out.
I just want to. I had to look up. I just want to say that you've got the younger generation of black women, especially, that are doing this. Lena Waithe.
Yes.
If she wouldn't have gone and reached back for Rada Blank, the 40-year-old version, y'all need to watch that movie on Netflix. It is hilarious.
For your version, yes, it's
40-year-old version,
hilarious.
it is so good. And I turned 40 this year, and I felt that movie so hard. But she says, she keeps on saying every time you talk to her that she would not have gotten anywhere or been nothing if Lena Waithe hadn't reached back and picked her up. She didn't know nobody. I mean, she's from playwriting, from that area. She didn't know anybody in filmmaking, and so she's got in the programs and just happened to be in the proximity of somebody who was reaching back. Like you said, that that you got to get in that proximity, but it's probably hard because you probably got to go through so many piles of people. But yeah, I mean, until we all start doing that, nothing's gonna happen. And the people that are up, that have the money, have to do it. So
There's so much I want to say. There's so much I
Why?
want to say.
You can come on another episode.
what I just said
Huh?
about you got some Hollywood tea?
We'll talk after this.
Okay.
I think it's some of the same stuff I know.
Okay, then y'all should have told me before I opened my
We
mouth. I
got
was
to talk.
trying to say about the whole process,
I bet y'all wish
We
I
got
was.
to talk.
I bet y'all wish I was talking about lugs now, since y'all.
Yeah, I'm with you.
No, we don't.
Trey just said he did.
The way you threw Mortal Kombat under the bus, I ain't got
I
nothing to say.
didn't.
Exactly.
I didn't.
Are y'all excited for Mortal Kombat?
Lewis
Are y'all
Tan
excited
is
for the
not
Mortal Kombat?
Johnny Cage.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah.
Booty Land ain't do nothing.
Are y'all listening to me? Or are y'all just putting words in my mouth? Y'all didn't say none of that. Y'all out here saying.
It's opportunity all over again.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
Yeah. Just to piggyback off what you were talking about. And even in certain instances, we some of these people of color that are in the higher ups need to have a sense of, even if they don't particularly mesh well with somebody, not to use that as a way to label them as unable to work with or difficult, like with Misha Green, the person who wrote Underground. I had did some research. She said she wasn't particularly fond of Justice Smollett, but she gave her another chance going into other projects and from certain projects, and it still allowed her to work with her, even though she didn't personally mesh well with her in that project and felt that she was kind of abrasive in a sense. So if that didn't happen, maybe she not had other roles and would have been labeled difficult as well. So sometimes they need, the people in the higher ups, I feel like they need to have a mind that, okay, I understand that maybe we don't mesh properly well, but I still want more representation, and they're a great actor and they have something to bring. So maybe they can go past themselves. Because I know a lot of times we don't like somebody. Now we're like, I don't want to work with them, period. Even though in some instances, there might be the perfect character, the perfect actor for this specific role.
Yep.
So just something to think about.
And they're doing the same thing the same thing that was done to them, and that kept them behind. And I'm sure there's a lot of that going on. I'm sure of it. So yeah.
Can I just say one thing?
Mm-hmm.
As Black artists, it's response to something someone has said recently in here. To Black artists, just be able to take criticism. Because sometimes when people critique things, certain people would ruin you. So I believe
definitely.
Like I criticize my brother every day of my life, and look how he turned out.
I started this show with a criticism, and I took it very well, and we moved forward.
Well, just look at the criticism like once again. Look at the criticism Kay did.
But it's all good. No, but
yeah,
definitely in the Black community, we think criticism, because a lot of time and I know being a nerd and liking the things that I like, a lot of times people aren't coming from a place of criticism. They come from a place of attacking. So then when we finally get a place of criticism, we're already defenses up. So we ain't trying to hear the criticism. We ain't trying to hear the truth in the criticism. All we hear is you getting on me. I don't want to hear no more. So we do have to get to a place, but we also have to teach people not to offend anybody or try to attack people. But so when criticism does come, we're more attuned and open to listen to the criticism.
Especially when you're trying to work your way up. So I'm working on this piece right now for Vero, where I'm going to be talking about the criticism that I took from someone who called me a nerd, talked about how awkward I am and clumsy and everything else. But he did that because he said that the nerd persona works for me, and so he's like, you need to put that in the camera. For what I was doing. And so it was for that thing. And when I took that in and I internalized that, even though at first it felt like an insult, but I internalized it for what we were doing, and it ended up turning out great. But if I would have taken offense to it, then I would not have gotten some really, really valuable information on how to, step out of my anxiety and, let myself loose on the camera.
Yeah.
So
I mean, Jonetta. Is it Jonetta?
Jonita. Yeah, Joe's fine. Yeah.
Okay. That's true. My response was towards something that you said earlier.
Yeah.
With people in power who can't take critique.
Yeah.
If you're trying to ruin you, that's part.
Oh, you ain't talking about the people coming up. You talking about the people that's. Oh, okay.
Yeah. We're already there. Well, that's when they need to be humbled.
This is the thing is, I feel like I'm playing baseball and y'all playing soccer. That's like.
remember we said people are performing. People are performing.
Man, let me go get a different ball. Okay.
That's why we need to get the right people at this spot. That's why we need to get the right people up there.
Yeah. And to the people to the people who out there who is not trying to allow this type of change to happen, and to the people out there just generally just like keeping people down and the crabs in the barrel type mentality, I only got one thing to say to them. Then fuck you. That's all I gotta say.
You say that, I need that clip. Please save that for me.
You made a clip of yourself.
Send me that clip in my Gmail, please, bro.
I mean,
What happened?
Oh, no, Dre. All I was saying was that to the people who keep them folks who keep people down, who want to, just wave and try to stop any sort of upwards progression or anything like that, there's only one thing to say. Then fuck you.
What?
Okay. I love that clip, dude. That clip is epic.
So soon.
So right there, I think we need to do the same thing. Drop a like on this, and subscribe, share.
Right. Go ahead.
Yes.
Everybody, where can I find you?
Share, subscribe, hit that little bell.
Yeah.
Like.
Oh, wait.
Y'all acting so embarrassed, and I literally said this.
We not embarrassed. You just read it.
This is literally a clip from last week that is available on our Twitter.
I guess I'll start off since I'm a guest. I just want to say I really appreciate you guys. I would love if you guys have me again. Thank you so much. It was awesome. I will be on. Y'all have me to be on here anytime y'all want. But you can always find me on my personal Facebook, Quentin Ziegler on Facebook, as well as my artist page. I'm an artist. TikTok, I do skits at Real Game Boy Color, no spaces, and as well as I do music as well. On YouTube, you can find me in full caps at Game Boy Color. You can go ahead and just find me, look me up. That's all I got to say. Appreciate you.
And Q, what do we do every Sunday on Facebook?
I thought you were going to do that. Oh,
you're supposed to do that. Don't put it all on him.
Okay.
I'll do it.
Don't put it all on him.
Because you've been taught how to treat company. Come on now. Use your manners.
Me and my brother, we do Into the Universe. We do Into the Universe every Sunday at 7:40 Eastern time. That's Eastern time, right? I don't want to say it wrong. I don't know standard specific. But yeah, we do Into the Universe where we talk about everything geeky, gaming, and nerdy. So you guys can tune into that on our Geeked Up Media page as well as my personal Facebook page. Thank you guys for tuning in with me, and I will be sitting back now.
Yeah,
making company do your work, boy.
We live in the same house, Joe. There might be company to y'all because we on the
Trey, where can we find you?
You can find me per usual on at QuamonStarG. Apparently, a lot of people are following me now for some reason. I guess. But
I think you said something.
You can find me on there. You can find me, as my brother so eloquently put it, every Sunday on Facebook Live. On Into the Universe, where we talk about everything geeky, gaming, and nerdy. Of course, you can find me here on MulDiversity, getting on these folks' nerves by breathing and existing, but I wouldn't have it any other way. And we're going to throw it. We are going to throw it to Key so she can go ahead and say her piece.
I don't think she's here.
Let them know where we can find you, Key.
Damn, y'all really, just leave me out in the cold. But anyway, okay, so you guys can find me at Kirsty Lannister on Twitter, where I'll be talking either K-pop, wrestling, or this current DC Cape ship. Also, tomorrow you will find me and Avia and Joe on a very special episode of Bish What. Then, the following Friday, you'll find me still on MulDiversity with Q and K Talk Wrestling, where I'll be mostly telling Q to shut the hell up. That's it.
Oh, that's the wrong mic. That's the wrong mouth. Aaron, go ahead.
Of course, you know who it is. You can find me on all social media platforms at AaronMichael_J. You can also find me recording with Mike on To Lovecraft and Back, where we discuss Lovecraft Country and other things dealing with H.P. Lovecraft Universe, Extended Universe. You can find me on Comic Book Debate with several articles. You can find me also on a new show with Avia called Shake the Table, where we're going to be talking about a lot of different subjects and issues, just kind of filling things out. And that's where you can find this guy at.
Oh, Mike's not even.
You're muted. All right, Jay, where can we find you?
Oh, me. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, you can find me on Instagram and YouTube in the same handle about Dre. I just started my YouTube channel and it's talking about a whole bunch of stuff. So check me out.
Also, Dre, real quick.
Yes.
I ain't asking for myself. I'm asking for friends.
The third segment is over.
Anyway, I'm just trying to find out. You single?
Yeah.
All right. Well, there y'all have it. Cause there y'all
Thank
have
you, Dre.
Thank.
Anyway.
All right. So Mike is now next.
Nah, it's fine. You can find me at _oddgeek, talking about Marvel, DC, drag, everything that I love. Me and Joe are actually doing a live show of The Mess tomorrow. We're getting deep into Bridgerton. So if you have not watched it, you better go to Netflix and watch it right now. If you have watched it, come check us out because we're talking all types of spoilers, and I'm so excited because I'm pressed about this show.
And now,
hey, I'm laughing here with these little kids. Anyway, so you can find me on all platforms at Jonita L. Davis. You can find my film reviews at theblackcape.com and Black Cape Media on YouTube. I'm also on Women of the Watchtower. We're going to have an episode of Wonder Friends this Sunday where we dive into the fandom and we pull up some friends that you should know. People you should know who love the same thing, same DC stuff that you do. I'm on here, with all them. Wednesday nights at 8:30. Yeah. And then yes, tomorrow we're gonna be on The Mess talking about Bridgerton. Okay, I need to say something to my friends who's already critiqued it. I know. I know y'all got these approaches. I know that y'all don't, but I know, but I like it. I love it. We're gonna talk about it. It's okay if you don't, but it's gonna happen. Okay. So and then we also, it's The Mess, and then Thursday with on Bish What. It'll be my first time on there, so I'm really excited.
I wanted to know. I was going to ask, did you need me to hit the button when you talk about the folks that didn't like Bridgerton? But apparently,
oh my god,
no, because they are still friends. They just don't. They just took a scholarly approach and looked at it from a feminist angle. Bridgerton is horrible, but I'm not looking at it like that. So
true. Big Money Avia, take us out with your intro extra.
All right, everybody, you can find me on Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, Vero at Avian Knighton. And tomorrow, me, Key, and Joe are going to be on Bitch What for a very special episode about Black women in the medical field. And also, Aaron and I are going to be on Shake the Table coming very soon. And we're going to be talking about issues in Hollywood from a creative standpoint. So be on the lookout for that.
Yup. And this has been us. And once again, you might see me and Aaron at some point, some other place at some point in time within the next such and such hours. And in any case, we are MulDiversity. We've been the Keys. Shout outs to Q. Shout outs to Dre. Shout outs to K. Those are a lot of one syllable names of great individuals.
New friend.
And again, if you guys want to participate in hashtag DC Blackout or use hashtag I Stand With Ray Fisher to let these folks know that we're not going for it and that we are
not for the okie doke
at all. So yeah, we promise y'all we're gonna get to an episode next week that's just funny, talking funny shit. Funny.
We're supposed to be talking about
because these last two have been so dang gone.
I mean, I told people we were talking about last year, recapping and stuff last year. That's what I told folks.
Yeah, and then Warner Brothers saw.
We was supposed to recap the year.
Yeah, we were supposed to recap 2020 because literally, what was 2020?
Wow.
And it's still happening.
And it's still happening.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Yeah, the president just got impeached twice, like for the second time.
Right.
I didn't know that was even possible. Like,
how do you get fired?
We need to talk about that.
And you know what I say? And you know what I say? Say to the president of the United States. No.